control now, right?
Yeah.
I love
Slew
that.
and Mizzou.
I love that Robbie
And
Allen
I know they're
kid.
all panicked about the fight, but I thought it gave it some. I thought it gave the league a little cred.
I like a good.
I'm all
I like
for
a
it.
good crowd fight every now and again. But let me get to this news because this just cleared on the Washington Post. The Army released the names of 2 soldiers presumed dead in the collision between the Black Hawk helicopter and the American Airlines plane, but took the rare step of withholding the identity of the 3rd soldier on board the helicopter. So they've identified these 2 members of. The military is Chief Warrant Officer Andrew Eves and Staff Sergeant Ryan O'Hara. Now, the 3rd soldier is a woman, and 2 officials familiar with the issue said, speaking on the condition of anonymity because of the sensitivity of the issue, they're not releasing the name. Now, what we do know today is the helicopter was flying above the 200-foot ceiling for helicopters in the area. The Washington Post, New York Times, a lot of other media sources have looked at the radar playback, and that's what they're reporting. We also know that the air traffic control situation was severely understaffed. There's a situation where after 9:30 Eastern, they consolidate the number of air traffic controllers, and they're reporting in the Washington Post, New York Times, and other outlets today that they actually changed that. So the supervisor called for that change before 9:30 because in theory after 9:30 there's less traffic. So I don't know. Jane, I'll start with you. This is just a terrible accident. Here's one thing I would say before we get going, because when I was talking about this yesterday, we had seen a fair amount of the video, but not all of the video that's emerged today. So in my mind, and I'll see if I can explain this on the radio because it's a little visual, I see the plane coming in for the landing, right? And I thought the helicopter was more directly like below the plane and then just was going up. But that's not the case at all. There's several seconds. I don't know how many seconds, but maybe 8 to 10 seconds where you see that helicopter directly looking like it's heading right toward the airplane because it essentially is heading right toward the airplane, and then they crash.
Because he was looking at something else.
Well,
I think there was a different plane that he was looking at, and I thought he was, they're supposed to stay down at, 200? And
under that, yeah.
Yeah, he was way too high.
But
that's what I heard.
Let me ask this question again, and I don't know if this has even been discussed, but isn't there a possibility at least that this was a suicide? Would that not even be possible? Because if they're over the ceiling limit and that thing was headed right toward the plane, I'm not alleging
remember,
anything.
Though,
I'm just saying
training flights, which makes you wonder, that I don't know. I mean, it may have been someone who just wasn't as experienced. If it's a training flight, it could be something that it's training. So I don't know, but it looked way too high. Like he was in the path of a plane, and the plane gets the right of way. Like the helicopter is the one that's supposed to be out of the way.
I've seen people on Twitter acting like the pilot of the plane did something wrong.
No, the pilot can't. There's no way. They're on instruments. When they when the landing gear goes down, they don't even look outside anymore. They are fully instrument, and they are
if you're a combat pilot, you're looking out.
But you have a different plane.
But this is a very different scenario, and people are applying. I mean, it's just total armchair.
No, it's the helicopter. I think the helicopter's going to be.
Well, I was watching.
I have no
I was
idea.
watching Steve. You guys have. I think we've all been there multiple times and flown into Reagan over the river. And I was just thinking about that today when I was watching some of the video and the rescue. You still see planes flying overhead. How would you feel if you're a passenger on one of those planes and you're flying right over the Potomac River, and you know what just happened? It's got to be horrifying.
Did they?
No,
it's
a tragedy. I know I've flown into Reagan many times. It's way better than Dulles, but I could just say until we recover all the bodies, I hate any of this speculation until families all know exactly what happened to their loved ones and those bodies are recovered, and then let the NTSB and the Pentagon and everybody else investigate it. But I hate all this speculation about what caused the accident. Clearly some type of tragic human or computer error, but until those bodies of those loved ones are recovered, I don't think we should be doing anything except praying for them.
I mean, I haven't watched the videos because you're watching people's loved ones die. I mean, I think everybody sort of forgets that for every parent who has scraped together money for their kids to be able to do travel sports, that's expensive. They've dedicated their lives to helping their kids do these things they're passionate about. There's all these young people and families who are recovering these bodies, and I just am waiting for them to recover them. And yeah, I can't watch these people's loved ones be murdered
between
or die
and maybe
or whatever.
Maybe I probably, Jane, you probably agree with me, Sue, too. I might not come off as the most empathetic person on the planet all the time, but I got to tell you, this month I have thought more about the victims of these fires, the hurricanes, and these poor people. I mean, I guess when we think of all our problems, they're nothing compared to some of this because it's just got to be devastating. I mean, it's one thing, I guess, obviously, if you lose a house and property, you can rebuild. But now you have, dozens and dozens of lives that were lost, and they have recovered more than 40 bodies, Stephen.
Yeah.
How about the people? Let's just focus on
Truly
some of those
innocent
people
people.
who have to do that.
Just the
they have to
recovery
dive
efforts.
down and
Can you
recover
imagine if
bodies.
you're
No,
one of
that
those
is
divers?
No.
With the ice
Horrible job.
on top, I mean, how difficult it is with the conditions,
Yeah.
much less.
What first
Horrible.
responders do, and I saw it. I just got back from L.A. on Sunday night, and what they have done and are still doing there, it's unbelievable. When our back is against the wall, these guys, men and women that are first responders, they come out and they do just a yeoman's job.
Well, they were jumping in the water. They had jet skis. They were trying to recover, hopefully try to save people that it was just beyond. The only maybe saving grace is this happened so fast. They both aircraft exploded and then they fell into the river right away.
Well, and hopefully your heart goes out to people, but you pray that they weren't in any pain and
Exactly. Yeah.
And they didn't see it coming
pray that
anymore.
and pray that they
I
can
think
recover
those pilots had to see it though, because he was heading right toward them.
I don't know.
know. They
I don't
don't
think
look out
they
the
do.
window.
They
They're on
don't.
their
Their
instruments.
instrument, and I think I would be shocked if the pilot saw it.
And yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Jane
know. I
Duker,
hope not.
State Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman, State Representative Steve Butts. Let's kind of broaden this out to a couple of things. We'll get to the nominations and some other things in Washington. But obviously, Mary Elizabeth, one of the stories of the day, and this continues to be a story of the day, is Trump kind of coming out of the gate with the DEI accusation. Now, I've been around this guy long enough to understand that when he says things, there's usually something there.
Yeah.
He doesn't, people think he kind of goes rogue, but he usually doesn't go rogue. He's saying something that someone has told him. He hasn't maybe processed the whole thing. And that kind of comes out when he starts to weave a little bit. Now, we don't know the answers. I didn't appreciate that coming out right away. I just didn't, because I'm thinking about families and all this stuff.
Sure.
I didn't think it was appropriate. But there is something to this, and that's going to be investigated, but the timing was awful.
Well, listen, I think that you have seen him respond in such human and warm ways when he's been caught off guard about tragedies that have happened. When RBG dies, for example, when you look at that video that was playing where they asked him the question, I think that everybody sometimes, just because we don't respond the way that you might imagine, doesn't mean that he's being inappropriate or horrible or whatever. I think that the left wants to jump on the man no matter what he does, and so they're happy to point things out that this wasn't quite right. I'm not saying you're on the left, but
Thank you for that.
No, but I'm just saying, I think that there is a knee-jerk reaction to say, oh, this isn't quite right, or it shouldn't have been done that. And with the pronoun executive orders that were coming out and some of the lawsuits that have been around DEI hiring, particularly in that space, I'm sure it was top of mind for him. And so you saw a real-time reaction of just the reason people are so against these types of policies is because they can have bad consequences.
Steve, I know you said you don't want speculation, and I get that, and I can appreciate that. But some of this is a little more than speculation. I'm not saying it's DEI related, but it is related to staffing issues. I think that's something that is pretty clear with the
I'm
the
sure
tower.
there'll come down to staffing issues. The comments on DEI, and I'm not in any kind of crazy woke left, but for the president, when you are the president, when you open your mouth, and to me that guy just has diarrhea of the mouth way too often, to not be able to keep your comments to, we're going to get answers for the American people, but first we're going to recover the bodies of our fellow Americans and return them to their families. End of story. He was even doubled down. I listened to him. I said, "Are you sure? Are you saying
Well, that's
the
what he does.
DEI had
That's
something
kind
to
of
do with it?" He
his
said,
pattern.
"Well,
Yeah.
maybe. I
Style.
can't say for sure it didn't. It was completely inappropriate."
Well, that's because he knows things, and I think he knows things that aren't
It's
being
still
shared right now.
inappropriate.
I don't
Keep your mouth
disagree,
shut
Steve.
for a week.
I get it.
You
I
can't
think,
fight with what Steve just said. There's no argument against what you said, but also he's working from information that everybody doesn't have, and I do think that sometimes these things come out. And again,
Yeah,
I
because
would
he has
rather
diarrhea of the mouth and he can't keep
But
his
you know
mouth
what?
shut.
But here's the thing, and I said this the other day, and Sue, remember when I said, look, I think, and I think there'd be a fair amount of agreement on this, that this guy has not had the issue with his tone and with some of the inappropriate things that he had certainly in the past. I think he's been on his, and I even gave him credit. I think it was on
gotten better.
Tuesday for being on his best behavior, and then Wednesday happened, and then, things kind of unfolded from then. I don't know, where this is going to take us with the investigation, but I do think that people want answers. Now, on the DEI front, you mentioned the pronouns. This was interesting. So he banned the federal workers from using pronouns in emails today. And I cheer that on because I hate the virtue signaling, but that's going to be controversial because the alphabet mafia is not going to like it, Mary Elizabeth.
I just couldn't care less, and I don't think that he can either. And when you see even Buttigieg was complying with it. You're the one who told me this before
Well,
the
and
show.
I don't know that he complied, but here's something interesting. Mayor Pete wants to kind of run for president, we think, and he removed his pronouns from his Twitter X page a couple of days ago, some folks have noticed. So I don't know what that's about, but I thought that was interesting, right?
Well, I just think you see this lock on mental thinking kind of melting a little bit. People are starting to realize maybe the rest of the American people are not with you. They don't want everything to be about ideology. They don't want everything to be about pushing your agenda. They just want to live their lives and do things. And the more that you're forcing me to say something, the less I'm into you. And so I think that's maybe even just a response from the left of changing.
I'm okay with the shift away from this nonsense, but I also think that what do you care if these people put that on their email address?
I care because I don't want to. I know you are the sex that you are, and this idea that I have to be told whether you're a man or a woman is insulting. And it's stupid.
It's
and
just
so
ridiculous.
It
It
is
is
ridiculous.
ridiculous. It's virtue signaling ridiculous.
You can't.
But that's my
You
point.
can't blame them for being offended, and then you be offended.
No, it's because then the idea is that if I do not comply with what you're wanting, then it's going to have actual negative effects.
Well, no,
on me
nothing
and
I'm
my
not,
requires
I'm not
you.
offended by it. I just think it's ridiculous.
I just don't comply.
And they're federal
I
tax,
mean,
they're on the
right.
federal dole, if you will.
Yeah, but I also don't think that them putting that there without requiring anything of you,
just
it
so
doesn't
dumb.
matter.
It's so dumb.
It's
Steve? Where are you on pronouns?
I don't have them on my email, and
I
if
don't
people want to put them on their email, it's perfectly fine. Live and let live.
I think like peer pressure is going to start taking care of some of this. And what I don't want to happen is that we swing the pendulum so far back that there's going to be more backlash. I mean, can we just not overplay the hand one time?
Why would we do that? What
I
fun
know.
would that be?
It wouldn't be fun.
You're
right.
One of the stories that came out today. Now, you guys, I'm just gonna, Mary Elizabeth, we're gonna have to defer to Steve and Jane on this one. But Mark Zuckerberg has been getting ripped because he's bent the knee to Trump, and he removed the tampons from the men's restrooms at Meta. And some of the Alphabet Mafia Meta people are protesting this, and they put the I mean, think about this. Think about what's going on here. They're putting tampons in the men's room to protest. To protest what? I mean, the 95% of the country is thinking that that's nuts, right? If you're in San Francisco or wherever. What do you mean?
95%?
No, it's 98.
Yeah.
Right. It's 98, yes. Maybe more. But see, that's
with
the
all
kind
the
of
issues facing us.
But that's the kind of nonsense that
All the issues facing us.
Well, thank you, Steve.
That's
but
not
that's the
even in the
nonsense that
top
people
1,000.
are sick of, for sure. It's a Reardon Roundtable on a Friday. We're coming back with much more. Hang in there.
The Reardon Roundtable on 97.1 FM Talk. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. And if you're just headed out, we actually don't look too bad out there on the roads. If you're westbound on 70, there's a little bit of volume. Whoa, it just disappeared. Never mind. We look good on westbound 70 out of downtown. A little slow out at K. Southbound 170 is a slow go, headed for 6440. And 6440, it's just moderate volume right now. Hampton out through McCausland. Northbound traffic on 55 is a little slow past the 44 split. Southbound slowing at Revis Barracks. And westbound 44, a slow go out at 141. But other than that, yeah, we're pretty good. And it's not a terrible jam on a Friday yet. If you need a new garage door, this could be your lucky day. Entries are now open for the $5,000 sweepstakes at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Enter now at overheaddoorstlewis.com. You can't win if you don't enter. overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, thank you, Sue. We have more of the roundtable coming up. I want to talk about Neovite and vitamins. And I take Neovite and vitamins. I take a multivitamin because I feel like I don't get all the nutrition that I need. Even if we eat well, and I do like fruits and vegetables, probably don't eat enough. That's why you kind of supplement with Neovite and vitamins. And they make it very easy. This is a local company. You can go online right now to neovite.com, and at the top they have a store locator. And you can put the zip code in. You can find out where they sell those vitamins. You're going to pay more at the grocery store. Just being honest here. So if you go online to that same website at neovite.com, you can either order in bulk or you can sign up for a subscription. That makes it real easy. Whether it's the women's 50+, men's 50+, the regular formula, the Neovite fish oil tablets, which have been out for a couple of years as well. Get signed up. You save money. They ship them to your door every month. You can cancel or pause at any time. They also get you signed up for the Neovite Nutrition newsletter, which is awesome. Check it out today at neovitan.com. That's Neovitan, neovitan.com.
Local news can come at you fast. Want the latest on what's happening in your backyard? Download the free Odyssey app. Follow your local news station, and you'll get alerts on the top stories making headlines in your city. You can stay in the know, no matter what you're up to, and be among the first to find out when news breaks. Plus, keep tabs on weather and traffic, so you're never caught off guard. To get started, download the Odyssey app. That's AUDACY, and follow your local news station.
Thinking of buying a new home? Think TR Hughes. TR Hughes Homes has great prices on beautiful new homes at 4 desirable locations. Charlestown Landing in North St. Charles, convenient to Highway 370. The Grove at Riverdale and St. Paul with standard 4-car garages, just 10 minutes from the St. Peter's Dearborns. Arbor Valley in Wentzville on Highway N with minimum half-acre wooded lots. And our newest community, Elkhorn Ridge in Truesdale, just west of Wright City, minutes from Highway 70. Come and see why TR Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. TRHughes.com.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Jason Aldean, Full Throttle Tour 2025, powered by Patriot Mobile. When lights come on. Saturday, July 19th, Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. With Nate Smith. You set my world on fire. And Ray Lynn. Jason Aldean, on sale now at livenation.com. Jason Aldean Live.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Get dressed for the 10th anniversary of Gent Men's Fashion Week on February 16th, 2025 at Energizer Park to raise awareness for men's prostate cancer through men's fashion. More information can be found on 971fmtalk.com/events. The battle is on. This is the Reardon Roundtable.
Friday afternoon, we are joined by Jane Duker in the studio, State Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman, and State Representative Steve Butts. Let's go to some Jeff City stuff. Mary Elizabeth, I'll start with you. There is a new sheriff in town in Jeff City as well. Mike Kehoe, obviously inaugurated a couple of weeks ago. He did the State of the State address this week, highlighting some of the priorities, and certainly education came up. But thoughts on the new Kehoe administration and everything that's happening in Jeff City right now?
Yeah, you bet. So we're off to a really productive, fast start. Kehoe is hitting the ground running. He's laid out some really bold visions to try to bring safety and security back to the state, to expand education choice, to change how the funding formula is done for our school districts, which maybe you guys are listening and yawning, but that is a massive fight he's decided to take on to try to make sure that all school districts get what they need to educate kids and parents have more choice to send their kids where they should. So I thought, a really strong vision laid out by the governor in his first State of the State. You could see a continuation of Governor Parsons' priorities. Of course, he was his pick for lieutenant governor, and so there's respect and continuity of that agenda. But I thought a bold new vision, a lot of what he'd campaigned on. So it's nice to see that delivering right out of the bat, saying, okay, this is where we're going to go.
Republicans have a supermajority, Steve, but what are the Democrats going to focus on?
Yeah, no, there was a lot of bipartisan agreement. There was a lot of standing ovations, both sides, and I'll say he spoke quite a bit on the importance of expanding early childhood education and just like daycare opportunities so that parents can get back into the workforce. I know that was in the previous administration. It just didn't really get done. But I think a lot of people say Keogh's the kind of guy that he's sort of a unicorn, right? I mean, he's got those really good urban roots for us, born and raised North St. Louis, successful, rancher and businessman, well-liked by unions. He just brings a lot of people together. He's a business guy, and I think he'll cut some deals
He's a
and
deal
get some
maker.
stuff done. He is a deal maker.
He's a deal maker.
And I think people believe in his integrity, and he just has political capital right now, and I think he's going to use it. He's going to use it for the state board police commissioners, I believe.
I made it very clear right out of the gate.
He did.
I mean,
It's
he
his number
brought
one
it's
priority.
his number one issue, and he stacked
On crime,
up
you mean?
on crime and state takeover in particular. He had representatives from every branch of law enforcement that he highlighted right out of the gate. I mean,
By the way, I saw him heavily praise Chief Tracy as well.
He did.
Thoughts on that, Jane? And where is the state control bill?
It's moved faster than it has since we introduced it, in 2017.
I think Nick's bringing out a committee.
So it'll be on the calendar, and soon. So that'll be good. And we've gotten all indications from leadership that whatever it takes to get this done, it's going to get done. So that is very heartening. And the chief is clearly getting more and more upset because I think he's getting a lot of pressure from the mayor to fight this with every tooth and nail when it's going to make his job easier. It's going to make his job better. And so I find that interesting. So the mayor is really at this point now, she didn't show up for 3 years. And then this year she decided, this has legs and I, better try to fight it. But I don't think she's going to be successful.
She has no relationships, no
She has
political
no
capital.
relationships, and she was very nasty to the legislators during these hearings, and it doesn't go well.
Because I went to both the Senate hearing and the House hearing, and to the mayor's credit, and I'm not her biggest political supporter, but to her credit, she was there. She addressed the issues the best she could. I thought she actually did a very good job. That mutual respect thing went both ways. You could see there was a tone in the questioning that, I didn't think was necessary. But, there's a couple people, Nick Schroer, and they just can't seem to help themselves.
Nick didn't say a word.
I didn't think
he
Nick
wasn't
was
allowed, and he didn't
inappropriate.
say a single word.
I don't think Nick was inappropriate.
Listen to the tape.
Come on, Mark.
In his
I support
remarks,
you, Nick.
he spoke,
Nick, if
but
you're listening,
he
I
wasn't.
support you.
He wasn't allowed to ask questions.
They shut him down.
Yeah,
but
so
do you think this is going to pass? So if it passes, what's the timetable we're looking at, and then what's
says
the
August.
process?
The bill says August.
If it passes, it'll be the end of August, right?
But listen, just for people listening, Jane's right. It's moving quickly, but like legislative quickly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to.
But we
let
haven't
everyone
we haven't
moderate
been
their
in Senate committee
expectations.
before spring break in 4 years. So that's why this is the quickest it's ever been. The House is not the issue. It's going to be getting it through the Senate, and we're ahead of spring break, which we haven't been. So that is on legislative
nothing has
time.
gotten through the
Oh,
Senate.
and I'm you guys. I know you really deserve your spring break too. I hope you have that whole week
so
carved
We worked
out.
so
for you.
hard.
I'm worried
It's
about
almost
you.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
I hope.
Gosh, man, I tell you what, that can't come soon enough. Let's talk a little bit about education because what the governor said is kind of framed around some things that are pretty tragic and sad, and that's the learning loss amongst a lot of kids in this country. And there's more research that's come out. My daughter's in 4th grade. They indicate that 4th graders, look, we've got countries that where English is not their primary language, they're performing better in English than we are in this country right now. So there's some significant challenges. Steve, I'll be honest, I don't know what the answer is because government can't solve all this, but there is a crisis post-COVID, and, this is affecting older kids, and some of these older kids might not be able to catch up. But how do you really grasp this and get a handle on it and make sure that this doesn't slide even further?
Yeah, so
because it hurts the country.
Do I think I have all the answers? No, I don't, but I can tell you clearly we went through a once in a 100-year event. Surely, if this country rebuilt itself after the Great Depression, World War II, the Civil War, we can overcome the learning deficiencies from 18 months in COVID.
but not if we keep doing the same thing, Steve.
Here's what we need to do, though. So we have to make a serious, ongoing commitment. We've been raising funding at the state level. It still needs to be more. I know some of you guys don't like to hear it. Teachers need to be paid more.
Well,
Just
that's
like we
not my
say
objection.
cops
That's
need
not
to be
fair.
paid more. Teachers need to be paid more. We need to get more people better people into the profession, smaller class sizes.
Look,
Of course, all those
more
things are
reading,
true.
But wait, but
all the
bringing,
above.
bringing people into the profession is important, and that is a challenge right now. And I don't know how, because when you have teachers that are going to get sick and tired of some of the nonsense that's going on out there, they're going to retire, and then what's going to happen?
I was just
I'm a
talking
teacher's
to
kid.
Normandy.
Listen, both of my parents are public school teachers. I agree. We have got to get more teachers into the classroom who have more authority to meet the needs of their kids, more money for teachers. We've seen administrative costs go up astronomically in the last 20 years since the last rewrite of
Here's
the
an idea.
formula.
Maybe pay teachers more and cut out the DEI crap.
Ding,
because
ding,
let's
ding,
take a
ding.
look at Webster and Kirkwood and Parkway and even Rockwood, how much money they've spent on that crap, which hopefully is going to stop. There, give it to the teachers. I'm fine
and
with
how
that.
many superintendents they have of this and that. So you have more and more administrators. You
I
have
agree with that. Flatten the system.
Well, you know
is what
why?
guys are saying.
100%.
Here's the
Flat.
thing. They have a lot of administrators because DESE passes a lot of rules, but doesn't really offer
I
any
find
money
that-
or
I agree with
anything
that.
helpful.
Yeah.
You know, that's a big problem. I mean,
Well, is there a way to reform that?
yes,
Absolutely.
you have to give teachers more ability to innovate. You can't, they are so strong. The testing, okay, first of all, the testing is a joke. Okay, the testing does not test what needs to be tested. And especially if they don't get the results until they've already been promoted. So the testing is a joke. It does not really measure achievement. Okay, so I disagree
I
with
think
that.
there's a certain amount of truth to that. Yeah.
And I think that if it, DESE, if they want to make all the rules, then they should provide the personnel to implement all the nonsense. So I do think that DESE needs to get out of the way a little bit and let, you know what, maybe in urban areas they need to have smaller classes, have longer school days, things that are tailored toward that district. But they've tried to make everything, perfectly the same, and it's just not possible. We have to do something differently.
Listen, getting DESE out of the way is something you'd be hard-pressed to find any conservative who would have an objection for. DESE has, as you say, tremendous impact, tremendous influence over what's going on, and has all these extra rules and regs and garbage that has nothing to do with outcome.
Yet they said,
So we agree with
SLPS
that.
is great, even though the administrators are spending all the money at Hooters and on the credit card. When I heard that DESE said, we still think they're going to be okay, that really concerned me.
Well, that was not what DESE said. That was what the state board said. The
Well-
state board didn't have a second, and that's a different entity. But DESE continues to have more and more authority, and I think that carving that back and getting them out of that is hugely appropriate.
Meantime, Steve, in St. Louis Public Schools, I think I saw a headline in the local paper yesterday or the day before. I'm paraphrasing here, but did the SLPS board give too much leeway to the superintendent? Yeah, you think?
Yeah.
Should they
No,
be
I mean,
somewhat
clearly.
responsible?
It's just sad that one person, and I'm sure it's not literally just one person, but clearly, and I've complained at every level I could, the FBI, the auditor's office, Dr. Keisha Scarlett was a fatal mistake in hiring that woman. And I don't know. Yeah, it's going to take a couple of years at least to undo the damage. And it's just where the city kids, the vast majority of them, it's just, they're just stealing from poor kids.
I know.
And kids that are underprivileged already, that still have a deficit from COVID. And I'm like, really? Is this where we're at? It was just beyond disgusting to me. So, I know we've got school board elections coming up. I'm sure hardly anybody will pay attention to it. I hope we do, my fellow city voters. But, they got to make a good hire and get the right superintendent in there and lose some of that oversight and give more authority to the principals at the local school, which I hear they don't have much of.
No, they don't. And SLPS needs a lot of things, and there is no incentive for any teacher to try new things. They have these administrators who walk around with their little computers and tell them what needs to be on their lesson plan for the day. And I'm like, these are teachers.
I just know a few of the schools, and I'll just say at Merrimack Elementary in my district on Merrimack Street in Dutchtown, they are trying to be innovative.
Good.
But I don't think we appreciate 50% of all the kids in there. They're like transient, right? They're just like homeless. And They start the beginning of the year, they end the beginning of the year with 200 kids, and 100 of them are not the same kids every year. There are some challenges that come with really, really tough poverty and brutal home life that makes educating the kids difficult.
This is why I recommend, look, if I was hiring the next superintendent in St. Louis Public Schools, I would hire my friend Tiffany Anderson, who now runs the Topeka Public Schools, because she turned Jennings around, and she is a dynamo. I emailed her this week because I was invoking her name. She's a true leader, and she didn't sit in meetings, and she went out in the crosswalks every morning to meet the kids and the parents, and she knew, and I was out there with her, she knew that some of these kids didn't even sleep on a bed the night before. Maybe they didn't have breakfast, but she was involved from a non-bureaucratic standpoint to really turn education in that district around, and she achieved it. And then she went to Topeka, a big school district, but there's not enough Tiffany Andersons out there, because my fear is you hire someone in St. Louis Public Schools, and what are they going to focus on? Race, and diversity.
This is why I thought that the governor's statement at the State of the Union, or the State of the State, was so great, was because he was outlining really bold things and saying, listen, if we've got people in the State Board of Education who don't agree with the way that the state is going, or if are pushing ideology, you're not going to get to stay in your seat. Hey, by the way, we're going to rewrite the funding formula to get everybody what they need to learn. And so those are big fights that don't have easy solutions, and I think Governor Kehoe is the guy to push that forward. So I'm excited about that.
On the funding formula, look, I've covered this funding formula for decades, literally in Missouri, and it's always the complaint, it's not funded fully, but education funding does go up every year.
Billions of dollars. So this is the thing, and why I think it's so important that he's addressing this is in the 20 years that the funding formula has been enacted, we have put billions more into education. We have 30,000 fewer children in our school districts. Part of that's because homeschooling numbers are going up. Part of that is because we have a population decline, because people aren't having enough kids. I mean, there's kind of a natalist view that's taking place across the country. But we aren't attracting big business. We've got to do a better job of growing our population. And so when we have results that going down, we have fewer kids in the school, and we have more money that's being spent, something drastic has to change, or we're going to keep getting the same results.
For any kid that's in school, whether it's SLPS or wherever, to me, it's reading.
I mean,
our reading scores are terrible. I'm like, if you can't read, you guys think about it, you can't do anything else in life.
I get, this is, for me, it's very frustrating because I have two children, as you guys know, who are older. They're 28 and 25, or about to be, and then I have my little 10-year-old. And, I saw more attention to reading with my kids when they were in, this age group than I am with my daughter, and it seems like she's checking a box off. Now, this is bad parenting, I'll admit, because there's too much screen time involved, but do we have enough kids that actually want to read? All of us read books. It's one of my deep regrets of life. I don't read nonfiction. Fiction. I used to read a lot of fiction. I'm making an excuse because I'm always reading for the job, and I'm reading every newspaper article. But I worry about how many of these kids actually want to read.
Yeah, you have to inculcate
I didn't want to read
reading
till much later
early
in
on.
life.
You didn't, Jane?
No, I mean, I liked the bookmobile. That was my favorite part of reading, was going to the bookmobile. But no, I mean, my love for reading came later.
But a lot of this with these kids.
But they didn't. I mean, but the school still made me learn how to read.
Made you learn to read.
I mean,
Right.
it's not an option.
Well, what they do now,
it's not
and
negotiable.
I don't think all this is bad, but what's very popular, these graphic novels. So they always
That's
have
right.
pictures, and it keeps the kids engaged. But I'm worried about it, and the reading scores are down, Steve, to your point, and I'm not sure what all the answers are. Hang in there. We're going to talk about some of the media aspects of this week and a little bit more. Last segment of the Roundtable coming up.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
There was an accident earlier on westbound 44 past 141. I don't see it anymore, but the jam behind it has not really let up. So we still have slow-moving traffic back to about Bowles. Now, there is an accident reported on Manchester, just a little bit west of 141, and the jam behind that one is building. And westbound is jammed, eastbound is slow in the same area. Now, we also had eastbound 44. It's really slow approaching the 55 split, and that's due to road work in the left lane. Southbound 55 slowing at Rivas Barracks. We've got westbound 6440 with moderate volume at Hampton, and southbound 170 is slow. There's an accident reported just south of the Forest Park Parkway, creating a jam behind it. If you're headed into Illinois, things look good on the bridges downtown, but there is some moderate volume just headed for the Poplar Street Bridge. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
If you have a brick home, brick chimney, maybe a brick mailbox, something along those lines, and the bricks are falling off, that's when you need a team at Morelli Tuck Pointing. They're the best here in St. Louis. They do everything. They're the masonry experts, so they do everything related to fixing things that I just mentioned, and they have a great segment on their website. If you go to MorelliTuckPointing.com, you can click on the gallery where you'll see some pictures before and after of some of the great services. They've been around for a long time. They're hard workers. It's a family-run operation, and they're extremely professional, and the customer service will blow you away. They take this very seriously. I've gotten to know them. They've been great sponsors of mine for a long time. Morelli Tuck Pointing. Maybe the best way to find out more is online, MorelliTuckPointing.com. You can always call 314-645-1387. Do me a huge favor. Tell them that we told you to call from the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
And a lot of people, when they come in, they'll say, I'm usually much more active, but since I've been in pain, I've had to limit the activities I'm doing.
You're listening to Janelle, an arch support specialist at the Good Feet store.
So he came in and he wanted to be able to keep up, play sports with his kids. And from there, we figure out which arch supports complement those activities. I fit him with the arch supports, and as I followed up with him, he's messaged me and said, I took my kids to the park today. We're walking, we're exercising, riding the bikes, and those are all things that he wasn't doing before because he was in pain.
For over 25 years, the Good Feet store's arch support specialists have been helping folks to live the life they love without foot, knee, hip, or back pain getting in the way.
Our goal is to have that long-term change for them. That's what's most important, is knowing that you leave an impact on someone's life. And I like that.
Try them for yourself. Stop in for a free personalized fitting and test walk at the Good Feet store.
Visit one of our 2 locations, Creve Coeur and Shiloh, Illinois, and at goodfeet.com.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at TurboTax. Guarantees.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Monday, Bill Eigel came in a close second in the Republican race for governor. What are his plans next? We'll talk to him at 7:08.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, Fridays mean we have a little fun in the 4 o'clock hour. We'll have Sue's News and then Paul Hall on entertainment, some movie recommendations, television streaming, if you will, as we head into the weekend, and also Frank Cusumano on sports in the 4 o'clock hour. We have a Reardon Roundtable going on right now. One more segment. Jane is here, and she's going to hang out in the next hour. State Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman and State Representative Steve Butts. A couple things. I want to get back to some of the national stuff in the media, but there was this plan that was sort of unveiled, and this has been in the works. The guy buys the AT&T building. How much did that thing cost? Like $300-something million to build it, and they sold it for
like 18 years ago for $260 million. It was just sold for about $3.8 million.
We could have done that. We could have bought that in this room, and we could have been
Who knows what the
marketing
taxes
this.
are, but yeah, $3.8 million.
Now,
I know,
Jane,
what is the taxes on that?
I don't know.
Yeah, who pays their taxes anyway? But Jane, this guy wants to put 600 luxury apartments in the heart of downtown. Now, I get that the entire city is not crime-ridden, but I would put the area where we're sitting right now toward the Arch in not the best situation right now.
I mean, well, we sit below luxury apartments that they're having trouble filling. So,
in this building. Park Pacific.
In Park Pacific. And beautiful views, beautiful condos, and they're having trouble, leasing them and getting them filled. So 500, 600 new ones seems a little unrealistic to me. And, and this is the thing. I mean, and you know what? It's a very bold idea. I mean, you want people thinking like that. But, I also think that we have to be realistic about the probability of something like that. I mean, remember when Green Street came and offered the world, and look where we are now. I mean, it's all in bankruptcy.
I would love to be excited about it to revitalize downtown. But I was at Katie's Pizza and Pasta last night, the one in, I guess it'll be Town and Country.
Yeah.
And great restaurant, one of my favorites, but they have a place at Ballpark Village. But let's talk a little bit about Ballpark Village, because some of these places have been struggling outside of baseball anyway. Now you're going to face a year where there's not going to be nearly 3 million fans going to Busch Stadium. What happens to some of those businesses even down there?
And those condos.
Well, that's why it's important. That's why it's important. I think, as the longest living city person in the room, that's why I think it's critical about the whole crime thing in the city, whether it's the narrative about crime or the reality about crime. People don't feel that safe when they come downtown. I can guarantee you that as a guy that's lived in the city his whole life, I hear that from city residents, not just county residents and others. I think if that gets done, this downtown area has to be revitalized. And the AT&T Tower, along with the Millennium Hotel, just to pick two that aren't crazy. I mean, they aren't destroyed the way the Railway Exchange building is. If you've been inside the Railway Exchange, I don't even see the vision for it. It is like a nuclear bomb went off in there. But the AT&T building, which is 1 million square feet, it's the biggest office building in the state, it's in remarkably good shape. It has not been vandalized. This would be a major, big project. I'm glad they're dreaming big. I've met with the developer from the East Coast. Would it be a grand slam? It would be. But you gotta think bold.
I don't want to be misunderstood because I would not root against it. I would
not.
hope that something like that would succeed. But let me just offer the area around where we're sitting right now as another example. Jay, and we all know this, and this is one of my little pet peeves, and Steve, you know this. We got two parks. We got a park and we got City Hall that have had gates around them for 16 months now, ever since Kamala Harris graced us with her presence in October of 2023. And we want people to come and move to the city, and we can't even remove the gates around a park? Well, how do you do that?
Still closed for renovation, I think.
Yeah,
Isn't
renovation.
It still closed
right,
for renovation?
That's what they say.
There's been no renovation.
They said, and you know this, Steve, because I did that. I had to go through a Freedom of Information Act, and they told me that the reason that they closed Pelker Park is because they were letting the grass seed. It's taken a year and a half for grass seed to take hold at Pelker Park. It's ridiculous. But no one's going to do anything about it. Tashar doesn't care.
Right. Well, we got an election coming up in March, and city residents are going to have to decide, hey, are you happy with the direction of the city or not? Here's a chance to make a change.
I think there's going to be a reckoning. I really do. I am seeing people, normal people, saying, we're done. Like, the storm was the end for her. I know we had this discussion when the storm first happened, and we disagreed on this. I said, this is going to be what kills her. And I think it's going to. And
Well, Steve, do you agree with that?
I said it would have if the election would have been 10 days ago.
Yeah.
I think there would have been a landslide loss. But by the time we vote in March and in April, I don't think it's going to be top of mind. I just know for us to not have a plan. I happened to be for a playoff game in Kansas City against the Texans, and to think they had 300 trucks out with 400 city employees, and their residential streets were all plowed. And for us to say we bought three pickup trucks with plows, I was like, I even talked to my own alderwoman, and I said, 3? Think of what you're saying. That's enough to do with some parking lots. I get it. It's 300. Now we got a number, but you got to have a plan with contractors and city trucks.
Well, I think the city of Arnold was running 6. I mean,
yeah, even in Arnold.
What did she say, Steve, when you said we need more than 3?
Yeah, well, I don't think she realized the size of the problem. Right. Like 3 is really going to do something
but
to buy.
Shouldn't she have realized?
Yes, she should have.
Hey, you know what? If you've never actually had to arrange for snow plowing at your own office building, like mine's got 75 parking spots, you need one pickup truck just to do that. Just to do that.
And but what I think it is, maybe people won't remember the snow exactly, but what I think it laid bare was their inability to do the basics.
Right.
Because the snow removal led to the trash problem. And so if you can't do trash and you can't do snow, people lose confidence that you can do anything. And so I think people have seen that, oh my gosh, the emperor really does have no clothes, and this government is a joke.
Do people? I'm going to ask a question here, and Sue, you can weigh in on this too. Do people in St. Louis realize that we're on the cusp of an election because it's not really covered at all? So do the residents even know that this is on the line right now? It's a legit question.
They will in another month.
I think
they
will.
You know, there's election fatigue. I mean, just to pile on here with the snow thing, when the streets director got brought before the Board of Aldermen, who had to have the hearing because we were all really upset, said, well, I was lied to by my staff, and it's so obvious. He said, so you're the streets director, and you mean to tell me you're not out in a four-wheel drive supervising it? What else are we doing?
Then you are not. You should not be the streets director.
Right.
I mean, and here's the thing. I mean, this idea that, and of course, remember when they were going to do the trash blitz last Saturday to make sure that people got their trash
what
picked
happened
up?
with that?
Well, they were calling drivers in for disciplinary hearings because, there was I guess the day after the storm or 2 days after the storm, it was their regular day off and they didn't come into work. And so now they're being disciplined. I'm like, this is a leadership issue, okay? Like if you don't have the truck drivers doing what they're supposed to be doing, that is a leadership problem. And it's the same department.
Now, we did pick up a bunch of trash, to be fair. They really
But
did.
they were
Not
dragging
everywhere.
drivers in for disciplinary hearings on a Saturday, okay? Like these people don't do anything on the weekends and they're doing this. So, I think people are like, oh my gosh, this is as bad. And they want to talk about all these highfalutin ideas and transformation.
I just wonder if it's resonating. All right, a couple more topics I want to get to here. Man, I love a good brawl at a basketball game. We referenced it earlier at the SLU game. Steve, what the hell happened? They got a game tonight. That just got nasty the other night, didn't it?
Yeah, and it was unfortunate. It was just crazy. It was late in the game. I've been a season ticket holder for 30-plus years, and my section's 102. We're looking right at the visitors' bench. And, what exactly happened, I don't know. There's some trash talking, with a kid that's on VCU.
Who was recruited by Travis
recruited
Ford,
by
right?
SLU. So, and he went to Vashon. I guess some kids knew the kids. And there were just things said, and I think, rumor had it. It's more than rumor now at this point. I think his mom was there, and there was just, I'm sure there were things said at a basketball game. What made it a bigger story is it was very late in the game, and
They had to pause the game, right?
CBS Sports. It was a very long time out, about 3 minutes. But CBS Sports couldn't break away,
right? No
because
commercials.
The next game wasn't ready to tee up, and there was no commercials, so they couldn't break
So
away
all they had
from
to
the
do was
feed.
talk about the brawl.
Wow.
Otherwise, it would have just been
Well, that's when it- yeah, 'cause then it
Rammer
went
on the
viral.
radio.
That makes more sense to me.
Who didn't make,
Yeah.
and that's really why
The
it became
timing
a
was bad.
bigger story.
Yeah.
It wasn't that big of a fight. It was just some pushing and
this
shoving
was my
in the crowd.
takeaway when I looked at it is I'm always shocked at how pathetic fights look in person. Right? Like if you've ever been a kid and you fought with your siblings, they felt like a big deal. I'm sorry, that's my last reference of a fight was with my siblings when I was a kid. But then you look at grown-ups fighting and it's always like, oh,
Well,
that was a big fight. But like I just feel like a little bit of
So it wasn't a whole bunch of punches being thrown.
No, but a dude had blood on his face.
Yeah, no, there was some
he got
pushing,
hurt.
and
He
when
got
you're
hurt.
and it's crowded there, and if you get pushed
People
from
are
behind,
falling.
you're going to
You're
go
gonna
forward
fall.
and fall.
So is that game tonight at home?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
tonight
Are
against
you
Dayton.
going?
I'm
All
going.
right. Well,
Yeah.
listen, if you weren't satisfied with the size and scope of that fight, start another one tonight, Butts.
Hey,
Come
look,
on.
I think it gave him some cred. I am not. I'm like, look, you know what? I mean, this stuff happens in the SEC all the time.
welcome to
So
the
it's
SEC.
like,
Welcome
you know
to the
what?
A10.
Let's go. I love it. A10 is getting, they're
It's a
getting.
big, but a big game tonight. So
It
come on
is.
down and buy a
So I
ticket.
think
Let's
it's
sell out
great
Chaffetz.
for
It's the whiteout game.
Go
Look,
Pelicans.
to broaden this point out further, college basketball is there are so many good teams, and this tournament
is
in
hot.
March is
It's
going to be incredible.
amazing.
I think every team is beatable. And look, a team like Missouri, Mizzou can beat any team in the nation on a
If
given
they're
night.
playing.
They're good enough to do
Yep.
that.
Yeah.
And
There's
that's
a
kind
lot
of
of 'em like
exciting.
that.
I'm not saying they will. I don't see them as a
No,
Final
we
Four
got the
team.
best. We got the best sharpshooter in the
never know.
nation at 50% on his
That's right.
As long
three-point
as they
shooting.
peak
and-
at the right time.
That's right. All right,
Never
Jane,
say
you're going to
never.
hang out in the next hour. Mary
I
Elizabeth,
am.
great to see you. I'm going to Jeff City to do a little tour in a couple of weeks, so
I
I'll
can't
see
wait
you
to
up
see
there.
you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think even Steve Butts is going to make some time for me, I'm told.
I'll give you some
can
free
can
coffee.
Can I get you on? Can I get on your schedule, Steve?
Oh, you can
That's
get
what
on
I'm
my
hoping
schedule.
for. Well, thanks for coming in, and I appreciate it. And that wraps another Reardon Roundtable on this Friday afternoon. Jane, you're going to hang out in the next hour. We're going to have a little fun. We'll talk a little television. I want to talk. Did you, Jane, watch the concert last night for the fire victims?
No, I did not.
Well, part of it was really good, but I had a little bit of a parenting dilemma in the middle of watching this last night. And I'll share that right before Sue's News, which is coming up.
Catch anything you missed today by getting the show podcast at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, on the roads this afternoon, if you are leaving downtown, 70 looks fine. But 6440 is, it has a little bit of moderate volume, Kings Highway out through McCausland. Accident westbound Manchester just past 141. That's causing a delay. Eastbound 44 at the 55 split. There is a jam, and it's all due to road work in the left lane. Moderate volume on westbound 44 between 270 and 141. And southbound 55 is slowing at Rebus Barracks. We also, this is out west, but we did have an accident reported Highway 79 just north of Highway C. So there's really heavy traffic in that area, and it's reportedly a head-on collision. Avoiding that area would be your best bet. This report is brought to you by Lakeside Renovation and Design. For over 25 years, Lakeside Renovation and Design has been St. Louis's trusted choice for transforming homes inside and out. From windows and siding to kitchens, bathrooms, and outdoor spaces, they deliver quality craftsmanship backed by lifetime warranties. Visit lakesiderd.com to start your dream project today. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sue's going to be back with a Friday edition of Sue's News right after the top of the hour. Let's talk about Susan L. Ward, who's a divorce attorney. Look, I have two friends right now who are going through this really, really rough times with a divorce. It's not a fun situation, and I know that. I've been through it myself, but it's going to go better for you in the long run. And I always tell people it's going to be another lifetime ago before you know it. You'll look back and say, how did I get through that? But you will get through it, but you'll get through it better if you have great professional legal help like Susan L. Ward. This is a tough area of the law. There's a lot of experience in her office, multiple locations. She's rated AV preeminent by Martindale-Hubbell. It's the highest peer rating that an attorney can receive. So if you need her help, whether it's the end of a marriage or anything that comes up in the aftermath of a divorce, modifications, etc., that's often needed, she can help you with that as well. Susan L. Ward, the website stlfamilylaw.com, the phone number 314-783-9400.
When you're approaching retirement, there are a lot of questions to answer. Do you have enough money to fund your income for life? How should you claim Social Security? And what's your plan for health care and long-term care? Hi, I'm Eric Robert, Director of Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 11 on 97.1 FM Talk. Don't leave your retirement to chance. It's crucial to understand and address relevant risks before you retire. Our team can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Simple Minds, Alive and Kicking Tour 2025. June 5th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. One unforgettable night. Special guests, Soft Cell, and Modern English. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Alive and Kicking Tour 2025. Simple Minds Live.
Hey guys, Glover here for my friends Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. If you need to sell your home to buy a new one, it's never been more important to have an experienced negotiator that you can trust. You need my friends Mark and Neil Gelman on your side. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
When we started Neovitin back in 2009, we wanted to create a multivitamin that we would take ourselves. That's why we use quality ingredients in our Neovitin Original Formula multivitamin. With over 20 vitamins and minerals, along with our physician-formulated proprietary blend, you can be sure you are getting the highest quality daily nutritional support. Give Neovitin Original Formula multivitamin a try for yourself. Find it at your local Schnucks, Dierbergs, and online at neovitin.com.
Filtering the BS pushed by the mainstream media.
St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
97.1 FM Talk. KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Ground. Elisa Brady, Fox News, just telling reporters for a second day the Black Hawk helicopter that collided with a passenger jet this week was flying too high.
Shouldn't have been out of its zone. It was at the same height as the airplane. Now, the airplane was coming down on its track. It was perfect. It was in perfect shape coming down, and something was in its way. You can't let that happen.
Also, again, putting some of the blame on what he calls weak hiring policies in the Biden administration. The NTSB holds a briefing later this hour. The crash investigation continuing as crews continue a difficult search of the Potomac River. So far, recovering 41 bodies of the 67 people killed. Also today, new restrictions on helicopters are in place airspace around Washington's Reagan National Airport. President Trump doubling down on tariffs.
You see the power of the tariff. I mean, the tariff is good, and nobody can compete with us because we have by far the biggest piggy bank.
25% tariffs will hit imports from Canada and Mexico beginning tomorrow, and 10% for China over illegal immigration and fentanyl.
You know, China makes the fentanyl, gives it to Mexico, puts it through Canada, puts it through different places, mostly Mexico, but also a lot through Canada. And so all three haven't treated us very well.
The Canadian Prime Minister says only a fraction of the fentanyl comes from Canada and that he's ready to respond to tariffs. President Trump says there may be short-term disruption, but he rejects claims U.S. consumers will face higher prices. A second federal judge has just ordered a temporary pause in the Trump administration efforts to freeze federal funding. The president has defended a freeze on grants and loans to allow time to review how money is spent, insisting it does not freeze direct assistance to Americans. The latest order from a judge blocking the freeze comes despite the rescission of a memo ordering the freeze. America is listening to Fox News.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation, weather.
Still lots of clouds for evening plans, and temperatures will drop out of the low 50s into the 40s. So it's kind of chilly, partly cloudy and 33 overnight tonight. Saturday, partly sunny, chilly much of the day, certainly in the morning. 53 in the afternoon. It's probably not going to feel that warm. There'll be a little bit of a breeze. Saturday night, some clouds and a breezy 43. Sunday, partly sunny, chilly start, but a nice afternoon. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
I'm Chad Robison with Your Money Now. President Donald Trump is confirming he will, in fact, impose 25% tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, according to CNBC. However, Trump telling reporters last night that his administration has yet to determine if oil imports would be included in that policy. The blanket tariffs on the country's products go into effect tomorrow. Stocks were lower today as investors digested multiple earnings reports along with the release of a closely watched inflation report. The Dow fell 337, while the S&P 500 dropped 30, and the Nasdaq lost 54 points. The FDA is approving a new prescription pain medication for adults to treat moderate to severe acute pain. The drug, called Jornavix, is a non-opioid painkiller, which is the first of its kind to treat that type of pain in more than 2 decades. That's Your Money Now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down and get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's Izervay.
This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts.
Hey, we have a Friday edition of Sue's News on deck.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group. Are you worried about market volatility? Are you concerned your money won't last you through retirement?
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw, and as a family-owned business, we are committed to protecting your retirement, whether you're nearing retirement or already retired. We have a lot of folks that aren't aware of all the new investment choices that are available, which give you growth and protection from losses at the same time. Are you aware of all the fees that you are currently paying? We can show you how to avoid those fees. So come in now for your free retirement review and get a second opinion on your retirement plan. And just for coming in, you'll get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. Let us show you how to retire with confidence.
We are proud to say we haven't lost a penny of our clients' money in 39 years, and we won't lose a penny of yours either. Let our family help your family. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online to retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Who you choose to sell your St. Louis area home matters, especially in this changing market. We all know a few realtors, including me, but I only recommend one realtor. Mark Cox here. For the past several years, I've gotten to know Gloria Liu, owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Gloria's different, guaranteeing to sell your home at your agreed-to price, or Gloria will buy it. When selling your home, you want the most money and the least hassle. That's exactly what you get with Gloria Liu of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Check this out. After 6 months, 2 separate agents failed to sell the Wheeler family's home. With no more time to waste, they decided to give Gloria Liu a call. Within a few days, Gloria was able to get them multiple offers and sold their home at nearly 99% of listing price because Gloria already had the buyers. The agent you choose to sell your home really matters. Call Gloria Liu at 314-325-6888. That's 314-325-6888 or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Conditions apply. Gloria and seller must agree on price and possession date.
We've been here 30 years. 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO. Or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
SSM Health welcomes to the St. Louis Golf Expo, January 31st through February 2nd at the St. Charles Convention Center. 5 big brands with Pro-Am Golf, Test Drive PXG in the simulator, and savor beer and cocktails. Get free golf, free balls, and special offers while they last. Get tickets and info at STLGolfExpo.com.
You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
My Maria, don't you know I've come a long, long way.
Oh, my goodness. So happy that the weekend is finally here, and we have relatively nice weather after all this rain. I think we're going to even approach on Sunday afternoon around 60, maybe higher than 60. So I think I saw 65 on Monday. Fred, we have Dave Murray.
Yeah, we do. Coming up in 5 o'clock.
A little after 5 o'clock, Dave will join us. Jane is hanging out. We got Ethan in the studio as well with the Hall of Famer and Sue Thomas on a Friday afternoon. Did anyone watch the Fire Aid benefit concert last night?
No.
Anyone?
No, I forgot.
I was relying on you to watch it.
I
I
watched quite a bit. So I went home last night. We went to dinner at Katie's Pizza and Pasta. It was great. And then we came home, and I turned it on Amazon. Apparently, a lot of the streaming platforms were airing it. Prime, I had it on Prime, but I think Netflix had it on. And when I tuned in, Green Day was on. I'm a fan of Green Day. I have to overlook politics, ladies and gentlemen, when it comes to my entertainment, or I would not like any music at all. And I've seen Green Day many times in concert. I saw them at the pageant when they were here, which was amazing, about 8 years ago. But then, do you guys know who Anderson .Paak is by any chance? P-A-A-K?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
I know you do because you're hip and young. Well, you know who Bruno Mars is, right?
Yes.
So Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak. Anderson .Paak is a musician, but he's also a producer. But they did Silk Sonic together. And Silk Sonic had a residency in Vegas, and I have deep regrets that I didn't see it.
Me too.
So Anderson .Paak last night was on stage, and I just want to play a little bit of it here. and he's on the drums, and he doesn't only play drums, but he's just banging out the drums, and in front of him there's somebody, and I'm like, and my son is in the room last night, and he doesn't know all the history of music, and I'm like, man, that certainly looks like Sheila E. And then I second guessed myself.
No way.
I'm like, that's not Sheila E. because they would highlight her. You'd have to be, introduced. Well, and he introduced Sheila E.
Ladies and gentlemen, make some noise for Sheila E.
And she just killed it. I mean, it was so damn good. So as soon as I saw this performance, and I mean, Anderson .Paak is an amazing performer. I love Bruno as well. So they're doing this, and then they bring out Dre.
Los Angeles,
The
are you still
doctor.
here? Why don't you do me a favor, make some noise for my big homie, Dr. Dre?
So he takes over here.
Still doing that shit on Dre? Oh, for sure. Check me out. Hey, it's still Dre.
All right, that's when it ended, because here's what happened. Now, I have a very serious question to ask the room and the audience. They promoted that Katy Perry was coming up. My daughter's in the room last night, and she's watching the music. She wanted to see Katy Perry. They start with Dre. There's N-word, N-word, N-word. Even Anderson .Paak had N-word. What do you say to a 10-year-old kid that doesn't even know what that word is? And if she does, she knows it's bad, and she sees artists on stage at the Intuit Center in Los Angeles saying it over and over. I mean, this is a legitimate question. How do you explain that to a little kid?
That's awful. I don't know what I would do.
Now,
what did you
I
do?
just say that's just inappropriate.
I ignored it.
adult.
We kind of moved on. We didn't let her watch the rest
I would
of it.
say that they're allowed to say it as part of artwork, but we're not.
Well, but how do you explain? Wait,
Yeah, I'm not even
the
referring-
context of the word though.
I'm not even referring to that specifically. I'm more so like why it is a
Family,
televised. It's
right.
a televised
Yes.
event.
Correct.
It's
Wide
not.
audience.
It's one thing if it's It's one thing if it's just a concert. Who cares? Like you're the artist. That's your song. Perform it. Say
Yes.
that. I don't care. But you were performing this for more than just the 20,000 people that are watching.
That's how I felt.
To Mark's point, if Katy Perry's coming up, kids are waiting.
Absolutely, because
like,
that's who they want to
Let me
see.
ask you this: did Dr. Dre say that, or did he pause during the Super Bowl a couple years ago? He paused because he knew that millions of people
that's a good
of
point.
all ages are watching. That
Yeah.
should have been how this was approached last night.
Agreed.
Huge miss.
So I texted my friend in Las Vegas, Rick, and I said, because I was outside of the language, I really was impressed with Anderson .Paak, and I right away I said, I got to see Silk Sonic, and I see this guy. But I texted Rick and I said, any chance you're watching the concert right now? I was going to tell you it's really good, but then this happened. They rolled out Joni Mitchell, and she looks like she's 130, and she's literally in a wheelchair,
Yeah,
with
literally
her
rolled.
cane, and she's trying to do this song.
And ice cream castles in the air.
I mean, it wasn't that good, and the whole crowd's coming off of like Dre and this big celebration. Then Joni's rolled out there, and God bless her, she's 82 years old, but that didn't work. And then Rick had texted me back and said Rod Stewart should have been with Joni Mitchell, because apparently that did not go well either later in the evening. However, I do think you can still stream the concert. I think it's like 6 hours long. There were a couple of locations. I didn't see anything from the other location, Fred. I was just watching some of the stuff from the Intuit
Right.
Dome. But they had a great, there was some great stuff last night. There really was. Really inspirational. They raised a lot of money. Steve Ballmer matched all the donations. I haven't heard
Wow.
a final figure, but they did raise a lot of money. Now, here's a question, though, another legitimate question. We all love to help people out. We donate. For something like this, would you have full faith and confidence that that money is going to actually get to people that need it? I hope so. But you know what I mean? Some of these
I
things
know.
are so big, you just
Who's
wonder.
running it? Yeah.
Right. Who's running it? Who's administering
Well,
all that money?
part of that was supposed to be Magic Johnson, some investor or owner of the Dodgers, and one other person was supposed to be in charge of distributing that. And I
Right.
still don't
that's
know
right.
how that works.
You're right. He was appointed. I think Karen Bass, was it Newsom or Karen Bass appointed a bunch of people
I
to
think
take
it was
charge
Newsom.
of that. Yeah.
I don't know if that's any better or not.
Anyway, I just thought it was an interesting moment musically with my daughter. I'm going to try to cue up Katy Perry tonight and find that and hope that. And I heard that was really good because she did it with a choir from Altadena that had lost their church. So there are performances on there that are worth watching. This is worth listening to this afternoon right here.
These allegations are deeply concerning.
Does the president have any comment?
We're not going to comment.
It's not clear messaging.
No.
And now, Sue's News. Brought to you by Sue.
It's possible that I do this every year, but we are now going to listen to something. And you are going to tell me who is singing. Who is this person that Mark will play singing I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry? Now, there's a little intro, and we go through all of that. This reached number 17 on the country charts 49 years ago today.
I get to cheat because I see what the file says.
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
the one that pulled it,
Yeah,
so I
know.
can't answer.
I know
So
who
it's
it
me
is.
in the Hall of Famer, huh?
Good luck, Jane.
This is amazing. Jane, come on. You know who it is? Can I give her a hint, Sue?
George Strait?
No, okay.
That's
He
a
is
good
not
guess, but
really a singer.
No.
He's an athlete.
I remember this from last year.
And he's a broadcaster now.
I gotta tap out.
It's Terry Bradshaw.
That's right.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
It's Terry.
I'm
Where's
so
my bell?
Wow, the bell is missing.
I mean, that's really not that bad. It's pretty good.
I would have never guessed that.
No, not in a million
But
years.
you know it once you hear it.
Yeah. Once you hear it, you're like, oh, okay. But I don't even know.
Has he
know.
ever sung publicly again?
I believe that was a short-lived musical
Okay.
career, Jane.
But it's not horrible.
Yeah.
No,
You
it's not
know,
horrible.
There's
That's
been
why
worse.
it made it to 17.
Yeah.
Right? It didn't get stuck
Well,
down.
so did Hutch from Starsky and
Oh,
Hutch.
well,
Yeah, he
that's
made
a
it into
fair
the top
point.
10 as well.
David Soul. That's,
David
that's a good
Soul.
point, yeah.
That song is more often played, though, than Old Terry.
It really is.
I hate to
mean,
say.
and I still know the words.
Don't
which
give
is
up on me,
disturbing.
baby.
Don't give up on me,
Don't
baby.
give up on me.
I mean, that's scary. Yeah. The fact that I knew that.
35 years ago today, in 1990, the first McDonald's opened in the Soviet Union. That was 35 years ago, and they stopped operating in Russia in 2022 due to the Ukraine war.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It's just kind
Well,
of
they're
interesting.
missing out.
Well, did you watch Fire Aid last night? I knew that Mark, of course, would.
Whoop. I'm sorry. I was getting ready to play the next thing, and then Terry was still belting it out.
Well,
Go ahead,
Terry's
Sue.
got
Sorry.
something to say. Well, Billy Crystal hosted the beginning of it, and it's very personal to him because he lost his longtime family home in the fires. And when they returned, one of the only items they found at Billy Crystal's house, they went into the backyard. There was nothing left except a rock that said laughter on it. For some reason, that was a piece of decor in the backyard. And here's a piece of sound from
Hello, LA, and everybody watching around the world watching us. Welcome to Fire Aid. We're gathered here at the Kia Forum. Our goal is simple tonight, to raise more money than the Dodgers spent on free agents. You'll be hearing from a number of people who were tragically affected by these fires, and I am one of them. I stepped onto the grounds and I fell to my knees and I wailed. I had not cried like that since I was 15 years old, and I was told that my father had just died. This was the only thing that was left. I felt there was a message from that 15-year-old me saying, it's going to be okay. And it will be okay.
Wow. Yeah, I was watching some of Billy Crystal. He was great last night.
He
That's
also mentioned, or he brought up, I guess, I don't know if it was the last time he had done something similar to this, but I guess he did something really similar for the concert after 9/11 in the wake of it, where he kind of,
he was the host.
spoke at the beginning of it. So he
He's
talked
great.
about that a little bit. It was pretty powerful.
Yeah. For Jane,
Oh, good food.
Twix.
Okay. Candy? Yes.
Well, this is a kind of a genius, ridiculous Super Bowl thing. Here we go. Twix has announced a contest that's running during the Super Bowl where they want you to go to Twix.com on your phone during every commercial break and compete in a staring contest.
This is good marketing.
It's genius.
That's great marketing.
So you won't watch the commercials on TV. You'll be staring at your phone at Twix.com. Now, the idea is the screen will have 2 gold bars on it with an eye on each one, which apparently belong to the hip-hop duo Yin Yang Twins, but that's a whole other story. They'll keep track of how long you stare and how many breaks you participate. The higher your score, the more contest entries you receive, and at the end, one winner will get 2 actual gold bars worth about $170K.
Wow.
What? Isn't that nuts?
I think that's pretty cool.
is
That's
so-
fun.
yeah,
And it,
yeah.
it's pretty passive, too.
Yes.
I mean, I can, just sit there with the phone. Okay.
Yes.
Simultaneously awesome and what is wrong with America.
Yeah, that's true.
It really
hey,
is.
I might
But it's
compete.
genius.
I might compete in this. I have some strong
Do you have
staring
stare
high
skills?
stare.
Yeah, you
I
have
do.
a- you
With
have a
Jack
gift.
Black. I almost
Yes.
beat Jack Black, but he beat me. He nipped me out in the end. You can watch that online. If you Google Mark Reardon Jack Black staring contest, that will come right up. And
yeah.
Jack got me. Dustin Hoffman was the timekeeper for that.
That's funny.
He kept time.
Kinda cool.
Name dropper, name dropper. They're
Of
actually
course.
tricking people into spending the entire Super Bowl staring at their ad instead of the ones on TV. It is kind of genius.
It is. I thought they were going to just give away candy bars.
No, that's
no.
that's smart. They'll get a lot because think
It
about
is
all the other
smart.
people like you and
Yes.
us talking about this as well.
Yep,
And
it's really
people will
smart.
play along.
Well, okay, we're about to head into February. We do like to look forward to what can we see in sports. The Pro Bowl is this Sunday, Super Bowl next Sunday, and the PGA has two big events in February: the Phoenix Open and the Genesis Invitational. Award season, of course, the Grammys, the Critics, the Critics' Choice, Screen Actors Guild. Too much TV to list. The Voice comes back on Monday, The Masked Singer on the 12th, Cobra Kai, which people love, but it's so horribly acted. Returns on the 13th, White Lotus on the 16th.
Yeah.
And Mark,
Well, I'm looking
Survivor.
forward to White Lotus.
Are you?
Yes.
Survivor. White Lotus is back on the 16th. Season 2 of 1923 starts on the 23rd.
Oh, I want to see that. Yep.
And season 48 of Survivor lands on the 26th. You're the only person I know who still watches
I
them.
I probably watch every season. It's sort of at this point a family thing. You know, Alexa, we like to watch it with her, but it's what can I say? Here's the thing. I'm watching this thing right now that I'm very embarrassed about. I'm just going to admit it. But again, it's become kind of a family thing. And then I
Sure.
discovered that my kids watch it. So I'll test the group, Jane.
Yes.
Traitors. Have you seen Traitors with Alan Cumming? So I'm watching the first
like
season.
First season.
So
Yeah.
what they have is a bunch of reality. In the first season, they have some regular people as well, but a bunch of reality stars, people from Survivor, Big Brother, all these other shows. They gather at a castle in Scotland,
Yes.
and Alan Cumming, the Scottish actor, is the host. And 3 people are anointed as traitors, and they don't tell. Yeah, the crowd wasn't crazy about that, but they don't tell the rest of the group who are the traitors.
Right.
And then they have to murder someone every night and kick someone out of the castle. It's awful. At least the first season
It
is.
actually isn't awful.
But I'm watching it because I'm being forced
It actually
to.
gets like great on Rotten Tomatoes.
I bet it gets better because I think the first season's a little rough, but I've heard it
Yeah.
gets better.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting premise.
The 5th and final season of Stranger Things hits Netflix sometime this year. I mean, come on.
Probably summer they usually do it.
But Ross and Matt Duffer, the creators of the show, are not leaving the world of the supernatural.
Okay.
They're working on a show called The Burrows, which sounds like Stranger Things, only with old people.
Right.
I kind of love it.
In the city?
You mean the kids that we've been watching 10 years ago who are now
Well,
adults?
yeah.
That's true.
That's a fair point. But no, it's the Duffers aren't exactly denying it. They're saying it's about a group of misfits who fight an otherworldly evil in a retirement community.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
I love that. Ethan, what did you do to our screen on the YouTube feed?
Well, there may or may not be if you go on to 97.1 FM Talk's YouTube live stream or on Twitter. There is a beardless Mark Reardon in a staring contest with Jack Black.
You pulled that up.
I
and
did.
you put it on the screen.
Look
It's
at
on
that.
the
Will
screen.
you
You look like you're 12.
I know. And that was not that long ago. You see what my daughter did to me? She aged me more than Obama was aged in the White
That's
House.
why you deserve
Swear
the
to God.
girl.
This is
We
a
told
very
you this was happening.
This is a very intense staring contest.
Oh, I know. We took.
Yeah.
Hey, Jack took it seriously, and so did I.
my
What can I
God.
say?
By
Yeah.
the way, the people in the Burrows are going to be Alfred Molina, Gina Davis, who I love, Alfred Woodard, and Bill Pullman.
Hey,
All good
that's a great
choices.
cast.
It
That's
is
a
a
great
great
cast.
cast.
Love it.
So when
So
they
that might be good.
finally
Yeah.
figure out what to do with the Stranger Things and end it. Okay, and Jane, for you, we have today's random fact. The word duds in Milk Duds came about because the company that created them wanted to make them perfectly round, but found it was impossible. So all of them wound up being duds. So they decided to embrace it and just call it Milk Duds.
I love them
That's
even more now. I love Milk Duds.
I thought you
Amazing.
did, and
Honest
that's
to
it.
God, people need like a PhD in Sue's News after hearing some of these random facts because that's amazing.
It is amazing.
Paul Hall on entertainment coming up next.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we we do have some moderate volume out there. If you are northbound on 170, it's a slow go headed for Airport Road. Southbound 55, slow pockets south of Arsenal through Revis Barracks. 44 westbound, mainly moderate volume. West of 270 in pockets to out past 141. But 270 southbound looks fine right now. And if you're headed into Illinois, we actually look pretty good on the Poplar Street Bridge. This report brought to you by Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Overhead Door Company of St. Louis is here with same-day emergency service. They will not leave you stuck. The original Red Ribbon Garage Door Company, trusted in St. Louis since 1926. Call 314-781-5200 or schedule online at overheaddoorstlewis.com. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk. Okay, it is time to start thinking about your retirement. What do you want? You want to have every advantage and just kind of have a grip on what's going on and what you're going to face. And a good way to do that is a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Now, it's a one-night class. It's taught by fiduciary advisors from financial and tax architects, and these people have decades of financial planning experience. And they hold these at colleges and libraries throughout the St. Louis area. You learn all kinds of things: tax saving strategies, IRA and 401k withdrawals, Roth conversions, Social Security. And they're free, but they ask that you bring 3 canned goods for St. Louis Crisis Nursery. Still openings for class next month, so call 314-947-2012. And I do mean February. That's next month. 314-947-2012.
I had a listener who reminded us that Terry Bradshaw was on The Masked Singer
He
as
was.
well.
Yeah,
So
it was the first season, and I could not figure it out.
he did not give up his singing career. So there you go.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-668-6655. That's 800-668-6655. Again, that's 800-668-6655.
Mark Cox here for my friends at Home Shield Foundation. This is a local family-owned company. They do waterproofing. They do crack repair. They can replace your sump pump and do complete waterproofing and drain tile and sump pit installation in your basement. And the owner, Matt Hayes, promises you this. He's going to come in. He's going to inspect your basement to determine the property repair that's needed. Check him out today. Tell him Mark Cox sent you. It's HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
97.1 and thousands of music options, plus millions of podcasts, are all on the free Odyssey app. Download the app or tell your smart speaker to play 97.1 and it comes up automatically. 97.1 FM Talk.
Friday afternoon on the Mark Reardon Show. Still plenty to go. We're only about halfway through the afternoon. We have Frank Cusumano weighing in on some, we might talk college basketball a little bit more than we usually do since we have no NFL outside of the Pro Bowl this weekend. Dave Murray will join us in the next hour talking about our unseasonably warm forecast. Jane, I felt like we always called Dave into service when it's nasty weather.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what? It'd be worth having him on when the weather's going to get a little warmer here next week. So
good news.
he will join us after 5 o'clock. I also have Lieutenant Colonel Alan Campbell, who is U.S. Air Force retired. He has written a book called My Life Above the Clouds, and he's landed dozens of times at Reagan Airport in D.C., and we have new video and information that's coming out about the crash, so he'll talk about that. And then, Jane, do you know what I've been playing pickleball occasionally, but do you know what paddle is, P-A-D-E-L?
No.
It's a different game. And I have a guest coming on in the next hour. His name is Cliff Marsland. He's the director of rackets, and he's the assistant GM at Paddle and Pickle, which is in near Olivet. I think it's in Olivet off of Olive. But paddle, what he told me a couple weeks ago is pickleball is the one sport that's kind of been picking up in this country over the last certainly decade. Paddle is a different game that has taken over Australia and much of Europe, and it's a game that it's more of a mixture between tennis, racquetball, pickleball, and squash because you can play the ball against the walls. It's different, and they have courts at this place, Paddle and Pickle. So Cliff's going to explain it all in the next hour. Let's talk movies and entertainment with Paul Hall. I'm hoping this one's good.
Give it to me.
We're all here to celebrate love. So why can't we just celebrate together?
How sweet was that? The other wedding's already having toast. I want to give it a toast. Okay, you are literally the best person I know. Stop playing cornhole.
That sounded like a slurring Reese Witherspoon, and Paul Hall is with us this afternoon from Common Guy Films to talk about this film and some streaming options for the weekend. How are you? That's Reese and Will Ferrell, right?
Yeah, it is. Welcome everyone this afternoon. I hope you guys are having a good time because you're cordially invited is a good time. I'm not going to say this movie's going to win awards. We're not going to talk about it this time next year as the best comedy of the year. But quite frankly, I got a chance to see this actually at a screening in theaters, which unfortunately, you're not going to be able to go out to a theater to see this because you should be able to. This is one of those movies that you will need to see with a big group, kind of to get that vibe in the room where you're all having fun together. And on Prime, it's going to lack a little bit of that luster. But if you're a fan of Will Ferrell, if you're a fan of Reese, it's great to see Reese kind of take over in many ways in this film. But these guys are fun, and you know what you're going to get as far as the type of humor you get out of Will Ferrell. If you don't like that type of humor, stay away. You're going to sit here and criticize this movie forever. But it's a story of two basically family members bringing their families to an island to get married. But this island is so small, you can't have two weddings. Why they get two weddings there at the same time? Well, they're double booked, and there's a reason for that, which will start your movie off in a good, smiley way as you find out what went down. Now they get on the island together, and of course, they're two very different families. And two very different families together in an enclosed space leads to funny moments, and I liked them throughout the movie. It's really not doing well over on IMDb. It's like at 5.5.
Yeah, that's what I noticed. But,
Yikes.
you know, and
You know what?
I can appreciate your comment about the infectious laughter because, look, I've seen enough screenings with people in a packed theater, and you do get more of an effect on that. So sitting in your living room might have the same effect. But we like both of these people so much, right?
Yeah, and that's just it. We need more of these fun movies. This is really just that. It's a fun movie. You're going to check your mind at the door. You're going to enjoy it for, an hour and 45 minutes, and then you're going to go home. Or in this case, you're going to, change it on your couch. But it's really a good time. You're going to have no problem spending an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes with Reese and Will here. I can recommend you're cordially invited to check it out.
I had my former producer, we call him producer emeritus David Klein, reach out, and I think he texted you, Jane, as well about this American Man. I was not familiar. There's a new OJ series out there called American Manhunt.
They are certain that OJ is in the passenger seat.
Mr. Simpson is a wanted murder suspect.
OJ is in custody. This was a trial involving the most famous celebrity ever charged with murder.
Look, I'd like to say we've had enough OJ coverage over the years, but Jane and I would both admit, and I don't know if you're in this club, Sue, but I get addicted to this stuff, and that story is so captivating, and I'm curious about this, Paul.
Everything about this was amazing to watch. And it was funny afterwards, after I'd screened through everything, talking to my daughter. And, of course, we forget this was 30 years ago. And, yes, it took over everything. Everybody that you knew of was talking about this on a television or radio show, wherever you could go. Geraldo Rivera really made an early part of his career from the O.J. Simpson case. But kids today don't even know this existed and how big it was in the scope of things. And we get some new details here. We get some new things along the way. You get some moments where they talk about things that weren't introduced at trial that if they were, I think would have maybe swung some of the jury members one way or another. And we get to the point of learning just some of the things behind the scenes. Now, of course, this was 30 years ago this took place last year, and with Simpson recently passing away, I think it allowed them to kind of go deep here and not worry about with the people they interviewed, because they interviewed some people close to him along the way, and people that actually had agony. And there's some really shocking revelations in here that you go, there's ways to beat legal system in a heartbeat. And I speak mainly about his sports agent and his comments about how to make sure the gloves don't fit when he got on the stage, outside of the latex gloves, which we all know existed.
Well, one of my questions was going to be what's new here, because it is a story. There's been documentaries. The ESPN series I thought was really good. Then they had the FX, fictional series, which wasn't awful. I mean, I think that the acting was really good, but some of the story differentiations, because it's a drama and it's not documentary, were a little bit weird to me. But, if you have new material, you have new interviews and more reflections, and that could be something interesting. Do people finally, without giving too much away, do some of the people close to him finally admit that he did it?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, but before you get to the end of this, you'll hear some people say grudgingly admit to that, even people that were close to him on the legal team and the like, that kind of went there.
Here's how I know he's guilty. You want to know? And I've said this over the last 30 years, and you can go watch it right now on YouTube. You watch that verdict come in and look at Bob Shapiro's face.
Yes, he was sick.
He is ready to vomit because he knows what he
stomach.
just did. Absolutely.
Yes. And
if he wasn't guilty, where's the killer?
Well, he was a jockey at Churchill Downs, because I would always run into OJ at the Kentucky Derby. That's what my theory was, Paul.
Well, and there was a lot of stuff in this trial that was not introduced in front of the jury. Look, I think this jury was so bad. The mistake they made was moving the case. They should have never moved the case, and then they should have been more careful in picking the jury. Because I think it was probably,
it was in the bag, right? Do they talk to Ito? Do they talk to Judge? Is he even around?
Judge Ito doesn't get interviewed at all here, but they do take this past the murder trial to the civil trial as well, and they have people talking about truly how easy and how they knew for no, absolutely surely he was going to get convicted of that from the start of that trial.
Yes. And because a lot more stuff got in, most namely were the interviews that they initially had with him, which contradict much of what their theory of the case was.
And those were not allowed in court.
And for some reason, I just don't think they didn't put him in. They didn't offer him. I mean,
you have his testimony in this series. You see his testimony under
deposition.
Deposition up front, and so you see him and the way he treats people and whatnot on those depositions in here from the civil side. Remember, he didn't ever testify at the murder trial because they didn't want him up.
But he was interviewed by the police, and Bugliosi. He did a ton of videos. If you go to YouTube, he can tell you everything that was not introduced into evidence that was kind of malpractice.
Vincent Bugliosi did that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and he did his own closing based on the evidence that should have gotten in. It's pretty fascinating.
I used to like that guy. Is he still around, by the way?
No, he passed away.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And he wrote a book.
Yeah, I recommend this one for anyone who's a fan of this type of stuff. I mean, this has really got enough juicy stuff to keep you talking about it for weeks.
Anything else that you want to recommend this weekend?
I do want to recommend Paradise. It's over on Hulu. The first 3 episodes are up. Next couple episodes coming down the path. This is about an end-of-the-world type of event where a president and his lead Secret Service agent, played by Sterling K. Brown, head into somewhere. And I'll leave that to you to explore in the series and see where they end up. But it's a paradise, shall we say, where they're going to live out their days until it's not so smooth and easy at some point. Sterling K. Brown is wonderful, and I'll watch him do almost anything.
Well, he's a St. Louis guy, too. You know that,
plays
right?
the president. Yeah, so of course I have to pander to the fact that he is from St. Louis,
right.
But that doesn't mean he's not wonderful. He is. This is a really interesting series. If you want to check it out, reminiscent a lot of, say, a Jericho, if you remember that from a couple years back, mixed with a kind of the backdrop of a spy thriller, even like The Night Agent, which is #1 right now over on Netflix.
I watched it. I
Are you through the whole thing? Is it
Yes.
good? Better
I
than the
actually-
first season or not?
I like the second
Okay.
season better than the first.
And there is a third coming.
Yeah, they
so.
already renewed for a third.
Yeah. So no, it was good. It really held my attention, and so I binged it.
If you don't follow Gabe Bassel on Instagram, Gabe posts a lot of content. He's been putting. He's a St. Louis guy too, which is why I want to mention this. But he puts up a lot of really cool things where you can see even some of the stunts that they did on The Night Agent, and he'll show some side by sides where he's doing the stunt or the stunt guy steps in. So if you're into that kind of stuff, follow Gabriel Basso, who's from St. Louis, on Instagram.
Wow. Okay.
Good follow.
But yeah,
Anything
no, it was
else?
good.
But Jane, what are you watching right now? You seem to watch everything. So you're watching the O.J. Simpson.
What was it? Black Doves.
Oh, that's good too.
I liked it, and then
There's a lot of good
I'm
stuff
still
out there.
watching.
some good
Did you
stuff
wrap The Agency?
No.
Okay, so I'm watching that, and I like
Yeah.
it, but it's kind of a slog. I'm waiting,
Yeah,
you know.
Joe's ahead of me on it, so I have to catch up so that we can, start watching it again. But I have not started that one. And then what was the other one I'm watching that is so good on Paramount?
You watch so much stuff you can't keep track of it.
Well, yeah, no, it's bizarre. I've been able to watch more TV recently, but I'll figure it out. Or was it on Peacock? But just finished with what's his name? The one about the assassin.
You're talking about the
Jackal.
Eddie Redmayne one,
Yes,
The Day of the Jackal.
the Jackal. That is really good. Really
It's
good.
spectacular. I've been through that whole series and I loved it.
Yes, and I think I actually thought it was a lot better than what the critics said. I think it's
Now,
a better show.
did you get through Cross? Did you get through Alex Cross over on
absolutely.
Prime?
That is really good too. And I read all the books, so I was worried that I would not be happy with the Alex Cross, but he did a great job. Great homage. Did not take away from the books in my In my feeling, I think that who they picked, I think he was great. I think the guy who plays John, his friend, is phenomenal. The grandmother, I highly recommend Cross.
Can we get into the Carla Sofia Gascon controversy this afternoon?
Where do you want to go with the Carlos?
This is fascinating. So do you know who that is?
No.
He is the first transgender actress to be nominated for an Oscar for the film Amelia Perez, right?
Okay, yeah.
But
Correct.
guess what? I think I'm a fan. You should hear some of the tweets that Carla Sofia Gascon has sent out in the past. Here's one about George Floyd. Let me get this straight. A guy tries to pass off a counterfeit bill after consuming methamphetamine. An idiot policeman arrives and goes too far in arresting him, killing him, ruining the lives of his family and his colleagues, and turning the guy with the bill into a martyr here. She kind of called that one accurately. Here's another one. New attack in France. Beheadings in Nice by one of these retarded followers of Allah. There's a good one. The Hollywood's going to love that. Here's another one. Islam is becoming a hotbed of infection for humanity that urgently needs to be cured. Here's another one. How many more times will history have to expel the Moors from Spain? We've not yet realized what this threat of civilization means. So she's getting hammered by the other, like the PR agents for the other actresses are leaking this stuff out.
Oh, this is like the dirty laundry.
Oh, absolutely.
Wow. This is a political campaign.
Yeah. She ain't going to win anything, right, Paul?
Yep, the Oppo research.
Yeah, I think there's very little chance there. The one thing I will say, much respect, she's left that stuff up on her Twitter feed. It's not like she went and tried to hide it after the fact here. Own what you did.
And she
Own what
hasn't
you
done
said.
her apology tour.
This is my favorite. Okay, this is the winner. Winner, chicken dinner. This is about the Oscars. Okay, now I don't know. Do you know when she said this? I'm not sure of the timestamp, but here's what she said. More and more, the Oscars films look like an independent and protest film award ceremony. Yeah, it is. I didn't know I was watching an Afro-Korean festival, a Black Lives Matter demonstration, or the 8M. Apart from that, an ugly, ugly gala. They forgot to give an award to my cousin's short film, who is lame. So she doesn't even like the Oscars, but she was nominated. That's going to be an interesting night for her.
Will she show up?
If I were her, I would not.
I don't know if I could.
Yeah. Paul, tell folks where they can find your reviews.
Comguy.com.
Have a great weekend. You going to watch the Pro Bowl?
No.
Yeah. I like the flag football thing, though. That might be kind of interesting.
That's
we'll
a
see.
fun aspect, but I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Other than that, not much to it. All right. We got Cusumano coming up.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
I've got something to mention roadwork-wise for the weekend. It's on the Illinois side. IDOT is going to close 255 in both directions between 157 and Illinois Route 15 tomorrow morning. and it's going to remain closed through July. They're doing some resurfacing and some rehabilitation, so bear that in mind. And if you're leaving downtown right now, westbound 70 looks fine. But there was a serious accident involving a head-on collision on Highway 79 north of C. Just avoid that area if you can. 6440 is slow go. Kings Highway out through 170. Eastbound is slow 170 through Big Bend. And southbound 55, just moderate volume right now at Revis Barracks. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Do you want to keep planning for your retirement this year? Well, I know a quick and easy way to do it. It's a 3-hour adult education class called Retirement Planning 101. Kind of like getting the Cliff Notes on how you could make your money go a lot further in retirement. Hey guys, it's Dave Glover from KMOX. It's never too early. It's never too late to get control over your finances and your financial future. You can do it with a one-night class taught by a fiduciary advisor from Financial and Tax Architects with decades of financial planning experience. They're held at colleges and libraries throughout St. Louis. You're going to learn about tax saving strategies, IRA and 401k withdrawals, Roth conversions, Social Security, and more. There's no cost. All you have to do is bring 3 canned goods for the St. Louis Crisis Nursery. There's still openings for this month's classes and next. So call 314-350-8110. 314-350-8110. That's my personal Dave Glover KMOX number, 314-350-8110 for Financial and Tax Architects.
The most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com. Paid for by the Electronic Payments Coalition.
Bill Walmsley interviews Chad and Lisa.
This property, for you to have done what you've done, won the award, changed it around, done all the rehab, has got to be worth a lot more.
We purchased for $8.275, and it's worth $19 million now. So.
Wait, whoa. That is incredible. I can see why you won an award, and that's great.
Lifestyles Unlimited. Over 33 years teaching the real estate retirement roadmap. Text the word radio to 88007 for a $297 membership. Save $443 off the regular price. Text radio to 88007.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
Now Taxes is using Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get your refund so you can do more with it right in Credit Karma. Now this is taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. See guaranteed details at turbotax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Congressman Eric Burleson.
The truth hurts, right? And the truth is their focus is not hiring competent people. It's about making sure they have a diverse and equitable workforce.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9.
All right, we have a sports weekend that's a little different because no NFL football for the first time in a while. We got the Super Bowl in a couple of weeks. But Frank Cusumano is currently trying to stage a fight at Chaffetz Center, is what I understand this afternoon. Let's check in with him and see if there's any rumbling that's going on. Can you report back to us this afternoon, Frank? No, I didn't punch him.
55-year-old guy with white hair, and I'm going to take a right hand to him right now.
So we talked about this on the Roundtable a little bit. Is there any further repercussions from that fight the other night or not?
Well, let me just say this. After talking to quite a few people involved in this whole thing, is a lot of them wanted to blame the VCU people, but from what I'm hearing is the SLU people were not innocent, and they may have instigated it and maybe taunted the VCU people. And that's when people like right there watching it objectively.
I would believe that. Look, it got a little hot. I think there was some chirping that was going on, and the chirping got a little hot, and then pushing and shoving. You don't like to see that, but we'll talk about what's really happening over there, which is a pretty big game tonight, right?
It is. It is. It doesn't happen very often, but it is tonight. A sellout crowd, Billiken Blizzard, everybody in white, 10,600 to watch SLU and their arch rival Dayton, and the man whose name is on the building definitely be here. He was here on Tuesday sitting next to JJK courtside, and he liked it so much he's going to stick around all week to watch this one. Dayton has owned the Billikens 8 out of the last 10 they've won, including a couple of years ago. I don't know if I've ever been more heartbroken. SLU was going to win this game, possibly get to the tournament. It was a couple of years ago, and then Dayton hit a shot at the buzzer. The place was like the world's largest morgue.
Oh, I remember that for sure. That was devastating. Meantime, you got Mizzou, who's been off for a week. They got a tough couple of games here on the road. Mississippi State tomorrow, and I think Mississippi State might be coming off a loss. And I think they might be coming off a loss.
To Alabama.
Yeah, right.
They're tough.
And then they got Tennessee next week, Frank. So it doesn't get any easier in the SEC, does it?
No, it doesn't. And Mississippi State is ranked 14th in the country. It's a tough place to win. And they have a little guard who you're really going to enjoy watching as long as Mizzou wins. His name is Chess Hubbard. I think he had 38 against Alabama. He's the leading scorer in the SEC. He's just fun and explosive to watch.
And he's tiny.
Wait, did you say
5'11"?
Did you say 48? Didn't
38. 38.
Didn't
and
somebody
he's 5'11".
score? Yeah, but somebody scored 53 points last night. Is that true?
I don't know.
I didn't see that one.
I'm going to look that up because I thought I saw that on ESPN
But
this morning.
guy is amazing. He had a monster game against Alabama, but he is tough. He's fun to watch.
What else is going on this weekend, Frank?
Well, the Blues are in Colorado tonight and then Utah on Sunday. And, they're almost to the point where you're just going to have to do something remarkable. And that means win at Colorado. That means win at Utah. If you came back home with 4 points after this road trip, then you'd have a chance to start thinking about the playoffs. But when you're down 6 points, having played fewer games than the team that's in the 8th spot for the final playoff spot, you got to do some great things.
Yeah, and you kind of wonder if you don't do some great things here, what does that hold for the rest of the season, right?
Yeah, I think that if they were to go south, they let's say they lose both, then what you would do is you'd expedite like the learning curve and you give like Dalibor Dvorsky, the phenom. I think you'd see him here in a week that, okay, we're not going to make the playoffs. Let's find out about the kid. Let's give him some NHL action. And then right after Jimmy Snuggerud's season ends in Minnesota, he'll come right from the University of Minnesota and wearing a blue note and playing for the Blues. That's if it looks like it's about over.
By the way, on the 53 points, I did see this. It was not my imagination, but it was a women's player for Vanderbilt. 53 points, 16 field goals, 16 free throws, and Vanderbilt beat Florida last night. So that was in the women's division. But, wow, that's a hell of a performance. And then Illinois lost last night, too. They had a tough game, didn't they?
Oh, they did. They're playing Nebraska, a team that had lost 6 in a row. And, Illinois's got 2 guys that are going to be in the top 15 in the draft. That's just a bad loss. Now, the positive side is that Illinois came in with a net ranking of 10, so they have a lot of significant wins. But now I think they've only won 2 of their last 6. They got to get it going.
Man, if Mizzou can somehow win one of these next 2, that would really be incredible.
I think they will.
And
I
they're
think
back
they're capable.
home next weekend against A&M. All right, Frank, what's coming up on Sunday night?
Okay, we have a star-studded Sports Plus. We are going to sit down with Dr. Shavitz to talk about is he going to keep giving hundreds of thousands of dollars to the Billikens to buy players. We're going to talk about him being involved in the WNBA. Now, and he's only our second biggest name. Our biggest name is John Hamm, talking life, landman, Jerry Jones, the Blues, the Cardinals, his life, his career. It's a fascinating interview. He is just a wonderful guy.
Always more John Hamm.
Yeah. Do you talk about Mercedes, because he's still the voice of Mercedes, I think, as well. That guy, unbelievable.
He really is.
And I
love St. Louis.
I have
my
my friend Richard King, who used to own the Blue Note in Columbia, Missouri. Everybody from Columbia knows Richard, but John Hamm used to go to the Blue Note and just sit there on the bar stool and listen to music and have some beers. Just a regular
dude,
normal
guy
back in the day, right?
Yep.
And look where he's got it.
Landman.
And we were talking about Sterling K.
show.
Brown too. I mean, those are 2 St. Louis guys that didn't really pop when they were young, if you will, but really have amazing careers. All right, Frank, have a great weekend. Enjoy the game tonight. That's going to be incredible.
I will. And I want to say one thing. Jane was so good on radio this morning. She's always so great with you. But today, my wife and I were listening. She just looked at me. Boy, she is really smart. So.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Tell her
nice.
she's very sweet.
I
Frank.
personally wish I would have cut you off before those comments, Frank, but thank you anyway. Have a great weekend. We'll see you. Yeah, what's funny is I was sitting here, and we have the station emails, people who are on the list, and the email blast just went out from 97.1 FM Talk, and it says, Attorney Jane Duker says blah, 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 because they featured a clip from you, I guess, in the email blast.
Yeah, well, it was
there.
about, the Board of Aldermen stuff and what a clown car and this, and board control of the police department.
Yeah, we talked about all that the Roundtable, you can always use the Odyssey Rewind app and go back a couple hours to 3 o'clock. Jane, thanks for hanging out on a Friday afternoon. Have a great weekend.
You too.
We'll talk next Friday. Right. We have a lot to go here this afternoon, including a little visit with Dave Murray. I just thought it'd be nice because, Sue, we always talk to Dave Murray when the weather's crap, right?
That's true.
But today, it's not the best weather, but the weekend looks pretty warm, and Dave's going to give us a little preview of next week as well. Coming up.
Love can rock you. Never stop you. Love is like a rock.
If you missed anything, podcast The Mark Reardon Show at 971talk.com. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
This is a really nice commute so far. Of course, it isn't 5 o'clock yet, but southbound 55, just a little bit of volume at Rivas Barracks at the southern end of the construction zone. To the south, there's some moderate volume in Peevely. Westbound 6440, it's still just moderate volume. Kings Highway out through 170. And eastbound 6440 is slowing at Big Bend, but then it opens up. If you're headed into Illinois, it looks fine. Westbound 64, a little slow out at Lake St. Louis Boulevard, and that's it. We look fine. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 456 at 97.1 FM Talk.
Hey, we had a great event last night at Plaza Frontenac at the Hilton there. I left right after the show. Mark and Annie were already there. We had a wonderful group of 97.1 FM Talk listeners who were in the room to hear from Thomas Helbig from the Retirement Advisory Group. Now, that was our first seminar of 2025, and everyone in the room last night was given an opportunity to get to know Thomas and the team and what they're all about. The philosophy is a little different, maybe a lot different than traditional brokerage houses, and they're going to explain to you at the Retirement Advisory Group how they've helped thousands of people here in St. Louis meet their retirement dreams. It's not as easy as it used to be, perhaps, because of inflation. But there are ways and strategies, and they're different strategies. The secret is linking to the market safely, and Thomas will walk you through all that. I don't know when the next seminar is going to be. I'm going to guess March because we just wrapped this one. But you can always go in one-on-one, straight into the office and meet. You can go online right now at retirementkey.com or call 314-993-9494. No obligation. See if you have a vibe. See if you like what they're all about. Well, you won't know until you get in the office and try. RetirementKey.com.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
Thinking of buying a new home? Think TR Hughes. TR Hughes Homes has great prices on beautiful new homes at 4 desirable locations. Charlestown Landing in North St. Charles, convenient to Highway 370. The Grove at Riverdale and St. Paul with standard 4-car garages just 10 minutes from the St. Peter's Dearborns. Arbor Valley and Wentzville on Highway N with minimum half-acre wooded lots. And our newest community, Elkhorn Ridge in Truesdale, just west of Wright City, minutes from Highway 70. Come and see why TR Hughes is St. Charles and now Warren County's premier home builder. TRHughes.com.
There's no better time to give your body nutritional support with Neovitin than right now. Start the new year off right with Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins. Neovitin 50 Plus multivitamins give you a nutritional base with B vitamins to support energy, vitamins A and C for immune support, and our physician-formulated proprietary 4-ingredient blend for daily support that you won't find in any other multivitamin. Find Neovitin at your local Schnucks, Deerbergs, and online at neovitin.com.
If you're trying to sell a home, there's only one agent in town that I trust, Mark and Neil Gelman of eXp Realty. My friends Mark and Neil have the best system to connect you to the best qualified buyers, getting your home sold fast and for top dollar. 314-336-1991. Go to thegelmanteam.com.
Hey everyone, this is Sarah from Fantagram, and I am here speaking out about mental illness and the seriousness of this disease in hopes that we can overcome the stigma surrounding it. Last year, my sister committed suicide after her lifelong battle with depression and anxiety. There has been a stigma in our culture surrounding mental illness and suicide. This stigma can lead to discrimination and negative stereotyping, which makes it harder for the ones who are suffering to reach out. But it's okay to not feel okay, and it's okay to get help. We can all help by listening to people around us encouraging friends and family who are struggling to talk to either us or professional counselors. We all need to help instill courage in others facing these challenges. And I'm listening.
Lots of questions, very few answers about the crash at Reagan. And we're going to have Lieutenant Colonel Bullitt Campbell, U.S. Air Force retired. He was a captain for a long time. Join us in the next hour. Dave Murray starts the hour with the forecast.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-500-5000.
That's 314-500-5000.
All on the free Odyssey app.
Heartbreaking search. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Police both scanning the Potomac River for the bodies of the victims of Wednesday's commuter jet and military chopper crash near Washington, D.C. The remains of 41 of the 67 victims have been pulled from the water as the Trump administration works to make the airspace near the Reagan National Airport safer.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy tweeting out that in consultation with President Trump and Secretary Hegseth at the DOD, they have decided to restrict helicopters from the airspace around Reagan National Airport. Unclear if this is temporary or may endure for a longer period.
Fox's Griff Jenkins at Reagan National Airport. Federal investigators have retrieved the black boxes from the jet and from the Sikorsky chopper. A preliminary investigation will take about a month, with a final report expected in about a year. A second federal judge has ordered a temporary pause on Trump administration efforts to freeze federal funding of grants and loans. The judge's decision coming despite the Office of Management and Budget rescinding a memo that froze funding on federal loans and grants. President Trump moving forward with his plan to place tariffs on products coming from Canada, Mexico, and China.
We have big deficits with, as you know, with all three of them. And in one case, they're sending massive amounts of fentanyl, killing hundreds of thousands of people a year with the fentanyl. And in the other two cases, they're making it possible for this poison to get in.
The president said the tariffs are powerful, and he said no one can compete with us because we have the largest piggy bank. Stocks surrendered early gains and ended up lower after President Trump made the announcement about the tariffs. The Dow lost 337, the Nasdaq off 54, the S&P minus 30 points. The NCAA has settled its lawsuit with the attorneys general of Tennessee and Virginia and other states over NIL rules. America's listening. Fox News.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZzzQuil.
ZzzQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit-forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZzzQuil nights. Explore our products at ZzzQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Still lots of clouds for evening plans, and temperatures will drop out of the low 50s into the 40s. So it's kind of chilly, partly cloudy and 33 overnight tonight. Saturday, partly sunny, chilly much of the day, certainly in the morning. 53 in the afternoon. It's probably not going to feel that warm. There'll be a little bit of a breeze. Saturday night, some clouds and a breezy 43. Sunday, partly sunny, chilly start, but a nice afternoon. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
At the Williams residence, everything looked kind of the same from the outside. But inside, their lives just got way happier. 3 years of inflation and debt had crushed them. But for the first time, they had the cash to secure their retirement, pay off bills, and plan their future. They didn't win the lottery exactly. They did a genius financial strategy called the Sell and Stay program from Truehold. It's easy. Their home's value had rebounded greatly, so they quickly sold it to Truehold and banked all that equity and cash. But since they weren't ready to move, they could stay put with an easy, affordable lease. Truehold even paid their property taxes, home insurance, and essential home repairs. Truehold unlocks your wealth without uprooting your life. Get a Truehold offer now while your home's value is high. Call 855-300-9993 or visit Truehold.com. The smarter, faster way to cash out your home's value without having to move. That's Truehold.com.
When's the last time you gave your home's exterior a little love? Hi, it's Kim, and if your siding is cracking, it's fading, or just doesn't stand up to our St. Louis weather, it's time to call Lakeside Renovation and Design because they're experts in James Hardy siding, which is this durable, low-maintenance option, and it looks beautiful. Plus, you have customizable colors and textures, and so you can give your home a completely new look while protecting it for decades. Don't wait until the small problems turn into big ones. Visit lakesidearty.com to schedule your free consultation.
SSM Health welcomes the St. Louis Golf Expo, January 31st through February 2nd at the St. Charles Convention Center. Get free golf, free balls, and more while they last. Presented by Post Dispatch. Test big brands with Pro-Am Golf. Enjoy the Sinclair Lincoln Long Putt, St. Louis Battlehawk Simulator, and lessons by Elevate Golf. All at the Golf Expo, January 31st through February 2nd in St. Charles. Thanks to Tito's Vodka, Sun Valley Golf Course, Michelob Ultra, and PXG. Special tickets at stlgolfexpo.com.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164. 800-390-1164.
97.1 is excited to welcome Brian Kilmeade back to St. Louis.
Hi, everyone. Brian Kilmeade here. I have great news. I'm going to be joining all of you in St. Louis.
Be a part of this event.
March 22nd, St. Louis. You're going to love it.
Get tickets at briankilmeade.com. This hour of the Mark Reardon Show is sponsored by Gamma Tree Experts. Your trees deserve the best care. Call Gamma Tree Experts. You're listening to the Mark Reardon Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
NTSB just had a news conference, going to have the very latest on that. And then we have a retired pilot who's going to join us, Alan Campbell, who has written a book called My Life Above the Clouds, has flown in dozens of times to that airport. And we'll have some insight from him coming up. Still a lot of questions that we don't know the answer to. I have some interesting audio that I have not shared from Jamie Reed, who was the whistleblower at Washington U and Children's Hospital that I'll get to. And then we're going to talk about paddle a little bit later. Pickleball is huge across this country, but paddle is a game that's really been taking off in Australia and in Europe. And Cliff Marsland, you'll like this because Cliff is the director of rackets, and he's an assistant GM at this place called Paddle and Pickle, but he's also got an Australian accent. So he's automatically cool just with the accent, right?
I already love it.
It does. I told him that when I met him. I'm like, Cliff, it doesn't even matter what you say because people just be enamored by the accent, right?
That's right.
It's kind of like listening to Dave Murray, the sultry, dulcet tones of Dave Murray.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel bad
if only
because
I had an accent.
we always call you into service when things are disastrous here. And by the way, we still do have some ice and snow despite all the rain yesterday on the ground. But we got a really nice stretch of weather coming up, don't we?
We do. Before we get to that, though, what is paddle?
Thank you. That's what we're going to find out.
We are, but here's the best way, and I saw the courts. So it's a combination of pickleball, racquetball, squash, and tennis, and you can play the ball off the walls. That's what makes it different, but the court is smaller like pickleball. And that's basically all I know because I saw these courts a few weeks ago. I don't know a whole lot about it.
Are they raised courts? Are they off the ground?
No. I don't think so.
I've seen what you're talking about, Dave, because that's another thing.
Tennis.
Yes. There's something else that's like that.
Oh, they're going to keep inventing these games.
All I can tell you, this is not a sales point at all, but the orthopedic surgeons that I know love pickleball because it has increased their business big time.
Well, I was on the IR earlier this week with a back injury myself, so I believe that wholeheartedly. All right, what are we looking at weather-wise here? Not only the weekend, but into next week, Dave.
Yeah, it's kind of a 50-50 weekend as far as temperatures. The whole weekend looks, except it's a little chilly tomorrow.
Uh-oh, we're losing him. Hang on 1 second. Let's see if this clears up. We may have to have you repeat that last 20 seconds. Everything was fine until then. All right, let's try again. Dave, you there?
All right, how's that?
Yeah, try it again.
Okay. Saturday is chilly. Let's just go with that. Sunday, a chilly start, but it is winter. Beautiful Sunday afternoon. 64 degrees. That's the warmest we've been since the middle of December. Still nice on Monday. Next shot of rain, and it's an all-rain situation developing on Wednesday night and into Thursday. So there's no big cold in sight. There's no snow. There's no ice in sight.
Okay. Well, you know what, Sue, what do you think?
It's
make a call.
It's not good.
Dave, we may have to let you go. It's just not working. I heard most of that.
Yeah, I did. I got most of it.
But
And
unfortunately,
Dave, if you're still there, I met a big fan of yours today at Roland Collision on Kings Highway. They fixed my car, and they're awesome. But they wanted to say they listened to the Dave Murray, and they want to know when you're on with the what the season will be forecast because they only trust you.
Oh, all right. There we go. Do you have an answer to
that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's see. The next one will be spring, and that will be some in late February.
All right. We'll look forward to that. You're cutting in a little bit in and out, so we'll let you go. But, Dave, thank you so much for the forecast. Basically what he said is Sunday is going to be really nice in the afternoon, and tomorrow just a little chilly, and next week, the beginning of next week, looks pretty good as well. So I still have, a fair amount of snow and ice on some parts of my house. You can tell where the sun's getting to it and where it's not. So we got a lot of rain yesterday, though, but that stuff is still hanging out there. All right, so one thing that I want to point out before we get to some things related to the crash is, and I didn't talk about this on the Roundtable, but the Post-Dispatch has since written a piece about this that's posted online. So the rumor was, and a lot of people were getting messages, ICE is cracking down locally on a lot of this stuff, right? They're conducting raids. Well, there's partial truth to that. They're not conducting raids. So what happened is at the El Maguey restaurant that is in O'Fallon, which I think is right off I-70, if I'm not mistaken. I think you can see it there, but there's maybe multiple locations. Police were called for a drug raid is what I'm told, and then immigration officers detained some of the workers because of, questions about citizenship. So they were there not to raid El Maguey for, illegal migrants. They were there for some other reason. But when you come across people, maybe this is the difference in law enforcement, when you come across people who are not documented, who are illegal, they're going to do something about it. So that's what happened. So you're going to see a lot of this panic out there, what's happening with ICE. But you should know that that's what's happening. All right, on the crash front, the NTSB just held a news conference.
We know that there was a significant incident in which the two aircraft collided, a pretty significant fireball. If you will recall, even after the first day, we only had maybe one or two grainy images that were coming out. We're seeing more and more at this time. So we're still collecting data, but we are not going to opine until we see a lot of other things.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of different video, and it's even more horrifying because you can see how much time that helicopter was heading right toward that airplane on the questions of staffing.
The FAA has had a very robust plan in looking at staffing. Obviously, we'll be looking at not only staffing that day, but progressively staffing. How many people, what job functions they were doing. Were they being combined? Were they not? What was the weather outside? What was the number of landings? I recall back during COVID, one runway was being used. Runway 1, that was the only one. 33, as traffic came back, started being opened up. So we would look at changes in traffic patterns, construction at the airport, all of that. It all paints a very big picture.
So they also talked about some of the cockpit recordings. Now, they have the black boxes, which is good.
We've received a lot of different information on ATC, and so I'm just going to preempt it. Off-the-shelf software programs are not always as accurate as the data we specifically get from ADSB, from the black boxes. All of that are factors that come into our investigation. So we will not speculate about ATC tapes that you may have heard and seen online or snippets. We are getting the full cooperation that we need to be able to make an accurate assessment and to make sure what we are saying is factual and that it will help and aid in the entire investigation.
Well, that poor guy was nervous as hell, right? You could hear it in his voice. He was not handling that moment very well. A lot of questions. So some of this stuff needs to be defined a little bit. We have Lieutenant Colonel Alan Bullitt Campbell, U.S. Air Force, retired. He was an airplane captain with Delta for 37 years. He's written a book called My Life Above the Clouds. Lieutenant Campbell, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. These interviews are a little bit depressing. It's a sad situation, but otherwise I'm doing well.
It's awful. You know, the thing that I can't get away from, and maybe this is the wrong place to focus right now, these people who have to dive into that river and recover these bodies. And you go home on the weekend, and that's what you're left with. And the families, all the devastation. It's just awful.
Well, there's so much we don't know, and that's one of the best examples of it is the people that have to deal with that. That water is cold. They're in the water. Even if you're just on the boat, it's still a very cold place. And then today it was supposed to be rainy.
Yeah. Hey, let's go through some of the definitions. When they're talking about the ATC tapes, can you help us with that? What do they mean by that?
Well, pretty much everything's on a tape, all the conversations, that sort of thing, so that if there's an accident, they can go back on the tapes and say, okay, who said what? When did they say it? What was the timing? So I think that's just a standard operation. You know, everything on the airplane is taped, and then everything with air traffic control is also taped. So that gives them an awful lot of evidence to look at to try to put this puzzle back together.
So what do you think happened here? What's your best explanation? Obviously, there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered, but what's your impression? We've seen a lot of the videos that have emerged in the last couple of days, different viewpoints. What are your thoughts?
Well, my thought is that American Airline was asked to use a different runway, which is just efficient. There's no problem with that. Runway 33. He has to go up the Potomac a little further. He has to go a little bit more to the east to make that left turn. But everything looked fine to me in that perspective. The problem was with the Black Hawk, they were supposed to be going down the other east edge of the Potomac River, and they were supposed to be down at 200 feet. Had they been there, we wouldn't even be talking about this. That they were further into the body of water, a little bit west, and that they were higher, almost 400 feet, that's unexplainable. That should have never happened. They should have not been there. So that's the big puzzle that they're going to have to put together is why were they there?
Let me read this. I've been all over X, formerly Twitter, and a couple of people have asked questions, and they asked pilots to weigh in. And this was a Black Hawk guy who claimed to be a Black Hawk pilot. So this is what he said. I'll describe to you what I think happened. Imagine you're looking, or not what happened, but how, a pilot might react to some of the things. He goes, imagine you're looking at the world through toilet paper tubes, and everything is just different shades of green and black with stars and ground lights hard to differentiate and aircraft lights that look the same as those. Then you have 3 different radio frequencies going off in your ears. Then you're trying to navigate without any peripheral vision. Then you're trying to keep the aircraft under control, and you're trying to keep watch for all traffic, not just one plane, because there are several in the sky at once, and you're trying to mentally keep track of all of them. And you get distracted for like 5 seconds, or your focus goes elsewhere. And like your instructor pilot asks you a question about airspace regulations. Boom, you're all dead. Flying those machines is really tough, and the airspace and the NVGs make it a heck of a lot tougher. Is that a pretty good analysis from a Black Hawk?
I think that was a very good analysis. That just tells you the story that only he would understand. The rest of us really don't understand that. But then when you add to it that they were wearing night vision goggles, why in the world are they doing that? If you're out off down the road somewhere, then you put on the night vision goggles and you do your training. But when you're going by Ronald Reagan Airport down the Potomac River, you shouldn't have had those things on. There's lights everywhere. It's not a darkness situation. You're not in combat. So that's going to be the huge explanation is, were they wearing them? Were both pilots wearing them? And then why were they wearing them?
Did you see the staffing shortages are real, and there's been reporting about the New York Times, Washington Post, and elsewhere. And I did see something earlier that said that they typically maybe make an adjustment after 9:30 because there's not as much traffic at the airport, but that a supervisor made a call in this instance, allegedly, to combine some of the efforts with the air traffic controllers earlier than 9:30. Do you know anything about that?
No, I really don't. They've got their own rules and work schedule and things like that. I understood that there were supposed to be 2 controllers, but if one controller needs to go to the restroom, or he's going to go get coffee, or it's time for him to go eat, then they probably do a little temporary one-on, one-off. But I just did read something on the news that said one of them had asked to leave early and therefore apparently did leave early.
Right. Yeah, that was what some of the reporting in the Washington Post was. Do you think that, not that they could have done anything, but do you think that the pilots of the airplanes saw the chopper at all?
Well, that's something that a lot of people don't really understand, but those commercial airplanes have that warning system in them on their little displays up in front, and it shows all the traffic around them, which comes through the transponders. And so they'll know if an airplane is over to their right, it'll tell them the altitude, 500 above you or whatever, but it'll be just really quiet because it's not a threat. If it becomes a threat, then it'll go yellow and it'll just pop up and give them more attention, but it might have an altitude difference or whatever. If it's going to be a problem, then it'll go red and it'll actually talk to them. It'll say pull up or go down or whatever, and it'll give them instruction. It's just a recommendation. It's not a force. But then when you consider that airplane is gear down, flaps down, speed slow, 300, 400 feet above the ground, it doesn't have that many options.
Right.
It could only go left and maybe up, but at that speed, it couldn't do either one aggressively. So if it had a symbol of an immediate collision potential, there's just not a whole lot it could have done.
You know, the other thing we're learning here, and this is what makes things even more frustrating, is that they had a near miss at that airport just the day before.
Exactly. And that's coming right out on the news. There were a couple of different airplanes that did go-arounds because of helicopter interference. And they just showed something on news a few minutes ago. A guy was in an airplane, a passenger, and he was doing a video out the window, and he showed the two helicopters going right along the east side of the Potomac River in formation. So that's exactly what they do. But, of course, there was altitude separation. It wasn't dangerous, but it just shows you what the setup is.
Let me. This is new reporting, and this may have come after the NTSB news conference, but bear with me here, Alan, because Washington Post just cleared this story. They say air traffic controllers twice alerted the crew of a U.S. Army helicopter to the presence of an inbound American Airlines jet, with the first warning issued 2 minutes before the aircraft collided Wednesday night, radio transmissions show. How could that be 2 minutes? That's incredible, isn't it? And now I've raised the question, like, have we ruled out this possibly being a suicide mission?
Well, that's something they'll certainly look at. I wouldn't rule it out because they're going to look at, was it, a combat mission where somebody trying to destroy it? Was there a bomb on board? They're going to go through all of that. But my assumption is, with some of this data, is that the helicopter was given that information and they looked out and they saw an airplane, but it might have been the airplane behind this airplane. Yeah. And so you've got to know the sequence. You've got to know who's the closest, who are they really talking about. And if you make an assumption of the wrong airplane, well, that can be devastating. Well, and I think that may be the answer.
Yeah, I think it might be the answer. So the story also says this, along those lines. They were looking at the radio transmissions. The quality is kind of hard to hear the audio recordings, but they say that, this is the Washington Post, aviation experts who reviewed the communications said that a member of the Black Hawk helicopter crew responded each time from the tower by saying that he could see the plane and requested visual separation, meaning the copter crew would maintain a safe distance each time the request was approved. Well, there's really only two answers then. Either it was a suicide mission or they were focused on another plane.
And I would say B.
Yeah,
I would say they were focused on another airplane. They didn't see the one that was close, and it was just a huge mistake.
Should there ever be, I mean, they've now suspended helicopters around that airport. Shouldn't that be maybe permanent, or are there too many training exercises that go out of that area?
Well, they were talking about that on the news also. And, my assumption would be, yes, they should suspend those airplanes. When you think about all these airports around the country, you can't fly within 2 miles of LaGuardia. You can't fly within 2 miles of the Atlanta airport or Los Angeles. Why in the world can you fly that close to Ronald Reagan? So they're making a huge mistake there by allowing helicopters to fly through there for training. Now, if it's a security issue, if it's an emergency issue, if there's been a capital something going on and they've got to scramble up there and take care of it, then that would be different. But to have helicopters flying at 200 feet, low level down the river, that's probably going to change. And I would say that would be the fix. The commercial airplanes have to have their radius. They're big, they're flaps and gear down, they're limited in maneuverability.
Right.
So you got to move the helicopters. And a lot of people don't realize that helicopter, if he'd have seen a collision, he could have diverted or he could have just stopped. They can hover. So they could have held him up and said, okay, hold your position, let the commercial airplane go by, okay, continue. So there were a lot of options that just weren't used.
Well, I hope we get some answers. Lieutenant Colonel Alan Bullitt Campbell, who has written a book about his life, is about My Life Above the Clouds. Lieutenant Campbell, thank you so much. This was extremely helpful. We really appreciate the perspective this afternoon.
Great, thank you.
All right, take care. That's interesting. That I'm glad that I opened up the iPad there and some of that, by the way, may have come from that news conference, and we aired some of the audio. But I was on the air; I didn't hear the entire thing. But
the night goggles
doesn't make any sense.
I don't.
Right? I heard someone address that yesterday because that area is so lit up. Have you ever had night vision goggles on?
I've seen pictures of how it looks when you're looking through them, and he's right, it's all lit up through there.
If you have night vision goggles on with all the lights around you, it'd be more distracting. Right, so that is a big question mark. We'll see if we get some answers to that. We'll take a break, 5:25. We're coming back with more. I have some really interesting audio from Kansas and our whistleblower, Jamie Reed, WashU and Children's Hospital on the gender-affirming care issue coming up.
Follow Mark on Twitter at Mark Reardon KFTK and Instagram at Mark Talk. You're listening to The Mark Reardon Show. Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, on the roads tonight, it's a surprisingly good commute. Now, we still have a little bit of volume on westbound 6440, and this is approaching McCausland on out through Hanley. Eastbound is slowing on either side of 170. Now, there is an accident reported westbound 6440 past Highway N, but they've moved that off to the shoulder, so hopefully that will look better. And westbound 70 looks fine out of downtown. A little moderate volume at K, and southbound 270 just moderate volume at Ladue Road. We look fine if you're headed into Illinois on the Poplar Street Bridge or any of the bridges downtown. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Simple Minds, Alive and Kicking Tour 2025. June 5th at Hollywood Casino Amphitheater. One unforgettable night. Special guests, Soft Cell, and Modern English. Tickets on sale now at livenation.com. Alive and Kicking Tour 2025. Simple Minds Live.
Well, that is going to be a fun summer show, and tickets went on sale earlier today. I still have one more pair of tickets to award to a 97.1 FM Talk listener. If you're call number 6 right now, Ethan will take your call. 314-241-9797. 241-9797. Dial quick. If you haven't started yet, you're probably not going to win, but Ethan will take your call here in just a second. Hey, if you're in Missouri sports fans, I've got great news. Underdog Fantasy is available to play in our state now. It's the best place to cash in on all your takes during the playoffs, which players are hot, which players are not. With over 5 million happy players and 2 billion won, Underdog makes it fun and easy. And I've been having a blast with this. And by the way, and I'm not the biggest hockey person on the planet. I'm going to a Blues game next week, but you can mix and match. So you can create entries from the NBA. There's no football this weekend, right? So maybe college basketball, NHL, the NBA. With the Champions game, it's real easy. You just pick a player on the Blues that you think might score some goals and match that with maybe someone in the NBA who might score this many baskets, or in the NFL next weekend with yards and touchdowns, etc., receptions. You can create entries with all one sport or mix and match. Underdog is the only chance platform that really puts the power to cash out in your hands, and every dog they feel deserves a second chance. So they have Underdog Rescues. That's where you can get your money back and get a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose. Now, the way to get started here is by downloading the app, Underdog Fantasy. It's the best place to play. Sign up and deposit now with the promo code MARKR, M-A-R-K-R. You'll get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. And if you're here in Missouri, you'll automatically get an additional $50 in bonus cash when you play your first $5 entry. So that's promo code MARKR. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. $10 deposit minimum. See UnderdogFantasy.com for terms and condition. Concerned with your play, call 800-GAMBLER or visit ncbgambling.org.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone,
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
but treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
529. This portion of the show is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air.
We know you've got an interesting take on things. You can tell us by clicking the microphone button next to Listen Live when you're on the Odyssey app. Record a short message for us to hear when you tune into 97.1 on the Odyssey app. Mark Reardon on St. Louis's home for conservative talk.
Well, usually I keep things relatively light on a Friday evening. I'm going to divert from that plan here just a little bit. And obviously, we were talking about the plane crash. I am going to talk about this game of paddle. You know, pickleball is huge, but there's this new game called paddle. I don't think it's exactly brand new, but it's really taken off. So Cliff Marsland's going to join us. He's the director of rackets and assistant GM at Paddle and Pickle, and it's off of Olive, Sue. And the way that Cliff, I met him a couple weeks ago when I was playing pickleball with my dear friend Jeff Drew, and Cliff described paddle, P-A-D-E-L, as sort of a mixture between squash, tennis, pickleball, and racquetball. You can play, and you can play it off the walls, right? So he'll explain all this to us here. We will lighten the load at the end of the hour. Plus, I have audio cut of the day, but Abigail Schreier, who is, well, she's the partner of Barry Weiss, who started the Free Press at the FP.com, where really the only real journalism is taking place on the Free Press these days, or maybe on Substack. Abigail Schreier has been simply one of the heroes in this gender-affirming care nonsense movement, along with Riley Gaines and, you know, our friend Billboard Chris up in Canada. But Abigail wrote this piece yesterday, and I'm going to play some audio, too, from Jamie Reed, who is our whistleblower from here, because she was in front of the legislature in Kansas a couple of days ago testifying about some of this stuff. But this piece in the Free Press is quite something. She said, when the history of the 21st century gender mania is written, it should include this signal entry. In 2020, a website called GoFundMe, usually a place to find disaster relief appeals and charities for starving children, contained more than 30,000 urgent appeals from young women seeking to remove their perfectly healthy breasts. Why is it that I'm just reading that now, by the way? There's a question for journalists out there. Another entry from June of 2020, the New England Journal of Medicine, America's platinum medical publication, right? We got a couple of doctors, maybe some of you smart physicians at WashU who worked with some of these people who abused children. They published a piece explaining that biological sex is actually assigned at birth by a doctor and not a verifiable fact based on our gametes stamped into every one of our cells. In fact, biological sex ought to be deleted from our birth certificates, the authors claimed, because a person's biological sex serves no clinical utility. Breaking news to gynecologists, of course. Public schools began asking elementary kids whether they might like to identify as genderqueer or non-binary. I have a friend whose daughter is about to be married. And when she was 17 years old, I remember him telling me, yeah, she identifies as queer. Well, I mean, she wasn't. She's straight as can be, but it was the cool thing, right? So public schools were asking kids, are you genderqueer or non-binary? And any dissent from this gender movement was met with suppression. The ACLU and their most prominent lawyer, Charles Strangio, announced his intention to suppress Irreversible Damage. That was Abigail's book. Well, it was a book-length investigation into the sudden spike in gender and transgender identification among teen girls. Stopping the circulation of this book and these ideas is 100% a hill I will die on, he said. Weeks later, Amazon deleted Ryan Anderson's book criticizing the transgender medical industry. She says, I could go on, but as of January 28th, 2025, I don't have to. On that day, President Donald Trump signed an executive order announcing that the federal government would no longer fund, sponsor, promote, assist, or support the so-called transition of a child from one sex to another, and that it would rigorously enforce all laws that prohibit or limit these destructive and life-altering procedures. And by the way, the other thing that he did today, and I'm so happy he did it. And I wonder how Michelle Lee, who likes to virtue signal at KSDK on her Twitter page, I can't follow her anymore because she blocked me. she's a she, her. It was confusing because her name was Michelle, so I didn't know, and I noticed that on the KSDK site, the virtue signaling. But Trump also banned amongst the federal workforce any use of pronouns in emails. Sorry, I root that on, and I love it because it's a bunch of nonsense. Abigail Schreier says, to the practitioners and promoters here in St. Louis, by the way, let's send this message to WashU and Children's Hospital. To you promoters and numberless devotees of pediatric gender-affirming care, a.k.a. child abuse, a euphemism, she says, a euphemism for the vast apparatus pushing junk science on vulnerable children. It came as a much-needed slap in the face. If it seems odd that the spell of pediatric gender medicine should have been ended by politicians and not physicians, consider that in America, politics is how it began. And this is where it gets interesting. She talks about Obamacare. This is where you need journalism, right? Abigail Schreier's doing some here. Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act, President Barack Obama's signature legislation incentivizing and coercing private insurers to offer their products on a government exchange, prohibited those companies from discriminating on the basis of sex. And in May of 2016, 6 years after the bill was signed, the Obama administration's Department of Health and Human Services added this fateful qualification. Discrimination on the basis of sex was to include discrimination on the basis of gender identity. Obama effectively wrote into law through health care that gender identity is a protected class. So she quotes in this piece a healthcare executive and gender medicine researcher that says that this opened a huge new source of funding for these treatments. Where do you think WashU got their money, right? From us, from the taxpayers. Because once these insurers feel like they have to cover it, that's it. You just have to turn on the engine. And if an insurer covers testosterone to treat a man who is deficient, then according to gender ideology's cracked logic, the insurer would also need to cover testosterone for a woman identifying as a man. If a procedure to remove a man's unwanted breast tissue was covered, then a similar procedure for a woman identifying as a man must also be covered. Denying those claims could subject insurers to federal enforcement action. So Abigail says to mandate coverage for gender treatments, activists snuck in gender identity without even Congress voting for it. Transgender rights groups filed lawsuits to test whether judges agreed. Suddenly, a woman was anyone who claimed to be one as far as provision of health care was concerned. Luxury cosmetic treatments became available even to minors covered by their parents' insurance at fire sale prices. Now, she said when puberty blockers have never received FDA approval to treat gender dysphoria in youth, doctors could prescribe them off-label as long as they had reason to believe that they would be helpful to patients. Everywhere physicians looked, activists and medical accrediting organizations and every news outlet of legacy media assured them, as if one voice, these were life-saving treatments. Oh, these kids will commit suicide. They'll be dead if we don't cut their breasts off and give them hormones that are going to change their bodies forever. Remember WPATH, the World Professional Association for Transgender Health? An activist organization styled as a medical one, issued guidelines used as the standards of care by all major insurers and Medicaid to justify all this nonsense. I'm paraphrasing a little bit here to get through this piece. It was nonsense. And the Biden administration pressed onward. They sued states that enacted bans on medical transition for minors. Rachel Levine, Assistant Secretary for Health, good riddance, a transgender adult, successfully pressured WPATH to drop minimum age requirements for gender medical treatments and surgeries. That was in September of 2022. And again, President Joe Biden and his embarrassing vice president used the bully pulpit to assure transgender Americans, especially the young people, that your president has your back. It's a bunch of nonsense. And guess what? It's over. Trump has put the kibosh on it. Now let me go to Jamie Reed, because if you're still confused as to why the kibosh needed to be put on this nonsense, this child abuse, she explains it pretty well. And you don't have to believe me. I'm a conservative, right? I'm an evil Nazi, according to the liberals. Well, she ain't.
I worked in pediatric gender medicine for nearly 5 years, and I was once a true believer. What I learned is that these are interventions based on poor research, poor evidence, and poor outcomes. Last week alone, 2 new systematic reviews were published in Canada, finding that puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones have 0 to no evidence to support their use. Last night in Queensland, Australia, puberty blockers were banned for those under the age of 18. In the center where I worked, I saw directly the patients who were harmed by these interventions, patients whose mental health got worse after initiation, and patients who mourned the permanent changes to their bodies.
Yeah, and where she worked was right here in St. Louis at WashU and Children's Hospital.
This all started with a small group of clinicians in the Netherlands who came up with this idea to transition kids. They were seeking the children they believed would go on to have a lifetime of troubles with their sex and intervene when they were young. Why? Because the transsexuals adults that they were working with were not doing well. When they completed the first study, they found that the young people were proto-gay youth. 68 out of 70 self-proclaimed that they were same-sex attracted, and they transitioned them.
That is not a close number. Think about that. 68 of 70 were gay. They were just gay, and they hopped them up on puberty blockers.
And then we in America caught wind, and we cast a huge net across this entire country in every state, and we pulled in whoever could be caught. And now we see this problem. We see the proto-gay youth, the vulnerable, the children with autism, with mental health concerns, with trauma, and they have all been caught in this new group. And now there's a group of primarily girls influenced by TikTok, hurt by COVID lockdowns. These are straight girls with private insurance, with caring liberal parents, and we have transitioned them all. The social contagion is real.
Yes.
And now the problem is clear.
Yes.
The girls began to realize what had been done to them. They stepped up and said, stop, this is hurting us. And we now see the global crisis for what it is, and it needs to be stopped everywhere.
Now, listen, if Trump was not in the White House right now, this crap would still be going on. This is such an important election. I think a lot of us knew that. But the only thing missing, in my opinion, at this point, are prison terms for people that worked on this stuff at WashU Children's Hospital in other cities, too, because it was child abuse. It's disgusting what happened, and I'm so glad it's stopping.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we've got an issue on westbound 6440. First, this is out west. They cleared an accident just past Highway N, and then there was another one. And this one is closer to Lake St. Louis Boulevard. It, too, is on the right side. And we do have some rain out there here and there. Expect a delay behind that accident. And on eastbound 6440, as you approach 170 through Big Bend. Westbound through there, just some moderate volume right around Clayton Skinker. Eastbound is slow, and it looks like that may be an accident, too. But it's eastbound 6440 headed for Vandeventer, just a slow pocket. Things look fine if you're headed into Illinois. Moderate volume northbound 170 headed for Airport Road. And southbound 270, just some moderate volume at Ladue Road. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, well, we will lighten the mood a little bit. We're going to talk about pickleball, but also this game, paddle, coming up. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. If you're nearing retirement or already retired, call my friends Thomas Helbig and Bob Kershaw with the Retirement Advisory Group. They'll show you how linking to the market is much safer than owning the market for your retirement savings. They're the official financial advisors of my show. Go to retirementkey.com.
This is attorney Todd Nissenholtz of Kaufman Townsley. Let's talk about a sensitive subject. Sexual assault in places where you should be protected. Public places like businesses, bars, and hotels. Unfortunately, due to lack of security and supervision, sexual assault happens far too often at businesses that should be protecting you. Kaufman Townsley holds abusers accountable. Call us for a discreet, no-charge call with one of our attorneys. Call 314-500-5000. That's 314-500-5000.
Taxes was not knowing your full financial picture. Now Taxes is getting and maximizing your refund all in one place. Credit Karma, where a TurboTax expert can do your taxes for you. They'll get you the most money back, guaranteed. Then you can do more with all that money, all in Credit Karma. Now this is Taxes. Intuit Credit Karma with TurboTax. Get started today. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Experts only available with TurboTax Live.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation.
Call 800-838-8614. 800-838-8614. That's 800-838-8614.
Paid for by Airtime Media.
The Mark Cox Morning Show.
Monday, Bill Eigel came in a close second in the Republican race for governor. What are his plans next? We'll talk to him at 7:08.
The Mark Cox Morning Show. Weekdays from 5 to 9. Right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
All right, Sue, occasionally I try my hands at pickleball. I'm not, by any stretch of the imagination, Frank Cusumano.
Oh, I love the pickleball.
Frank is a pro, though, and Monique, his wife, man, they're good. But I went out to this place called Paddle and Pickle a couple of weeks ago.
And when you say paddle, it's E-L?
P-A-D-E-L.
Okay.
And I was unfamiliar with it. And then I remembered that you had talked about it on the show at one point. And you were describing it. So I met Cliff Marsland, who is the director of rackets and assistant GM at Paddle and Pickle, which is off of Olive. Is it technically, Cliff, how are you? Is it in Olivet, technically? Is that where you are?
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Good.
Yes, we are in Olivet. Yeah, that's where the club's located on North Price Avenue.
Cliff is from southern Missouri, as you can understand. The accent sounds like perhaps the boot heel. No, you're from Australia, right?
Correct. Yeah, I'm from Perth, Western Australia originally, but I've lived in the U.S. for 15 years.
I told you a couple of weeks ago, like when you're on the air with us, what you say from now on doesn't really matter because we're just all enamored with the accent. Even the listeners, they're not even listening to what you say, Cliff. But you just have to know that. But look, I'm very fascinated about paddle, this game, because what you told me that night was that pickleball is like huge, taking over America, but paddle is a game that's really been hot in Australia and Europe. Correct?
Correct. Yeah, padel is well in the U.S. Yeah, well, you can say it any way you want.
Okay,
but Marcos Del Pilar, who's considered as one of the leaders in the coaching world of paddle, has actually come out and said you should pronounce padel because there's another sport called platform tennis that is colloquially known as paddle,
Exactly.
P-A-D-D-L-E.
Yes.
So it's a big, it's a little confusing, but padel, what the sport we're talking about here is actually comes from that sport. So yeah, it's a fantastic sport, cross between tennis, squash, racquetball. You can play off the wall, fast upswing, kind of like pickleball. But yeah, it's growing in popularity around the world faster than any other sport. And I just got recent statistics that there's 30 million people playing worldwide right now.
So are the courts, describe the court size and how the walls kind of work. Is it the same size as a pickleball court or bigger?
It's actually a little bit bigger. It's somewhere between the size of a pickleball court and a tennis court. So in the metric system, it's 20 by 10 meters. But in the Imperial, it is 32 feet by 65 feet, roughly.
So is it a situation where you don't have a ceiling, though, like in racquetball, right? There's no ceiling shots?
No, we have an indoor facility over here at Paddle and Pickle in Olivet. If you hit the ball and it hits the ceiling, the ball would be out. But it's a sport like tennis or pickleball that can be played inside or outside. The court's enclosed by a glass and wire wall. At the back, it's 4 meters high, and on the sides, it's 3 meters high. And you can, like I said before, you can play off the wall. The rackets are a little shorter than tennis, a little longer than pickleball. So the sweet spot is closer to your hand. Therefore, it's easier. As someone who's coached 4 different racket sports, I can tell you that the upswing is more forgiving because of that sweet spot distance between, the distance between the sweet spot and your hand. So the hand-eye upswing is much easier in that respect versus the tennis, where people run into the ball more when they're starting out. That's probably the biggest challenge I would see with beginner tennis players versus beginner padel or pickleball players.
I have so many questions. Okay, but let me start with this, because I play tennis and pickleball, but playing off the wall eludes me. So if someone were to hit it to my side, can I hit it on my side to the wall and then over the net? You see what I'm
It's a
asking?
good, no, I get it. That's a good question.
Yeah. No, absolutely, you can. And it's they borrow some terminology, I believe, from racquetball and squash, where it's called a boast. So you can hit it into the glass, but you cannot hit it into the side wire and then send it over. You would lose the point there. But you can boast the ball into the back glass wall and then send it over the net, or into the side glass wall. So yeah, those shots are, kind of produce some oohs and ahs. If you've got people watching, it's kind of the Hollywood shot. I like to call it the side boast. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Hey, Cliff, I should ask this from the beginning, but what's the consistency of the actual ball?
So the ball is a smaller tennis ball. It's pretty much the same thing, but it's 89% of the pressure when it comes straight out of the can. So it's a little softer, it doesn't bounce as high, a little more forgiving again. So you can see how it's like mirroring a lot of the factors that make pickleball, have that easy upswing. Padel also has an easy upswing, but I would say it's probably a little harder to master because of the wall and the length of the rallies and the technical progression of the sport. But that's kind of, as you get into it, you discover that on your journey.
So Cliff is he's the director of rackets and assistant GM at Padel and Pickle. Now I've learned how to pronounce it correctly. Cliff Marsland. How much is it taking off here in St. Louis? Because there are limited courts. I'm not asking you to promote other courts because you want to talk about your courts, but how much is it taking off here in St. Louis?
It's flying. We have probably around 250 people at the club already playing Padel. I heard of there's one other private court in the St. Louis County area, but that's it. We're the only place that is publicly accessible. And yeah, it's growing fast. We have a league on Thursday nights that's full. It sells out 4 or 5 weeks before we even start it. Courts are booked up all weekend. A lot of the evening times are getting booked up fast. Like it's really catching on, and it is mirroring what's happening elsewhere in the world. When the sport started to really boom, in the late 80s and early 90s, and then into the early 2000s when the Spanish Federation formed a professional tour.
Oh, nice.
Hey,
That's
I've
awesome.
got another question, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm just
No, you're
intrigued
fine,
by
you're
this.
fine.
Is the scoring more like pickleball, or is it more like tennis? In other words, do you have to do, are you serving number one, number two, that whole deal? If it's doubles.
Great question. It's actually exactly the same as tennis. So it's rally scoring based upon sometimes tennis is described like an analog clock, 15, 30, 40 game. I don't know why it's 40 and not 45.
Right.
I'm not sure with the story about that, but yeah, you go to deuce, you play sets to 6 typically, tiebreak at 6-all, best of 3. Professional Padel and then club level Padel also adopts the golden point rule, where if it goes to deuce, you'll play a sudden death or, winner takes the game next point. It's also called no-ad scoring. Yeah, it's called no-ad scoring in college tennis. So it's a great way to kind of like keep the scoreboard moving, and it's really good for, folks that are, trying to get their game done in, an hour and a half, and, we're all a little time poor out here, so it's convenient like that where it has flexible scoring.
Hey, so in Padel, do you have that goofy scoring thing where you have to do, I still don't get this with pickleball, it's like 0-1, 0-2, the whole person serving, is that Padel as well?
He said tennis.
No, there's
different.
you call the server score and then the receiver score, but there's no serve order or serve number like in pickleball. So it's just the two numbers.
I like it better already, Cliff. I like it better already. I think that's awesome. Well, I'm going to try to get over there. Our mutual friend Jeff Drew, a.k.a. The King, is asking me, I can't believe what he asks of me and the things that I do for him. He says, while you have Cliff on the air, tell him to book under my name plus 2 Cusumanos, 1 Reardon, 8 o'clock, Court 8, 7:30 next Wednesday night. So that's your order from Jeff Drew. How about that?
I'll get it done. Sounds good.
All right. Hey, this was fascinating. I want to learn more about this game. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
And since I play racquetball and I love pickleball, I think it might be, I'm not going to say I'm good, Sue, don't get me wrong, but I think it can be a fun sport for sure. So, Cliff, I really appreciate you coming on.
Okay, Cliff.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Wait, you guys, let me ask one more, okay?
Sue's so excited about this.
I'm
I've
sorry,
never seen you so active. I love
really,
it.
it's intriguing to me.
1 minute,
Can you go and get lessons? I mean, because I would have no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, from Cliff.
Absolutely. We have a clinic called Padel in No Time at the club on weekends and in weeknights. And you can also book an evaluation lesson where I can help place you in the program. We have Play with the Pro clinics. We have cardio padel, just like cardio tennis, 3 days a week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Those are all great ways to start and jump into the game and learn.
Cliff, this is awesome. I'm going to take one of the clinics, and we're going to get out there. We'll see you next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Take care.
Stand by. Playback ready.
Now, the audio cut of the day.
Well, candidly, I had quite a bit of audio that I could use for cut of the day, but I'm going to narrow it down to one because we're out of time. And I don't know if you heard this yet, but this is just epic. This is, I think this is the former president of Kenya, okay? The former president of Kenya. You know how we send all this foreign aid all over the planet?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
This is what he said about that.
People the other day crying, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government. It's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. You don't pay taxes in America. He's appealing to his people. Shauri yenu bwana. This is a wake-up call for you to say, okay, what are we going to do to help ourselves? Because nobody is going to continue holding out a hand there to give you. It is time for us to use our resources for the right things. We are the ones who are using them for the wrong things.
Oh, my God. Common sense is taking over the planet. And then this is the DNC, the people that are fighting to be the head of the DNC and what they thought about the election. Why did they lose the election?
Have a show of hands. How many of you believe that racism and misogyny played a role in Vice President Harris's defeat? Okay. That's good. You all passed.
Every one of them. Oh, God bless you, Democrats. You keep going down this route. We love it. We can't wait. You can't use your pronouns now if you work in the federal government. It's a different planet right now. It really is. Have a great weekend. We'll talk on Monday afternoon at 3.
Dependable traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Eastbound 64, still slow on either side of 170, and then things open up. Westbound, some moderate volume at Clayton Skanker, and then some moderate volume as you approach Highway N out through Lake St. Louis Boulevard. But that's it. Other than that, we look good. Don't forget, IDOT will close 255 at both directions between 157 and Route 15 tomorrow morning. That will remain closed until July. I'm Sue Thomas, and that's traffic on 97.1 FM Talk.
Sponsored by Robert Half.
9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring. Robert Half is here to help. Our recruiting professionals utilize an award-winning AI to connect businesses with highly skilled talent. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com/talent today.
Man, I remember the day, like a lot of my customers, going to school. When I went to school, I had to walk uphill, and it was 25 below zero and 14 inches of snow an hour. And then when the time I got out of school, the terrain changed, and I still had to walk uphill to get home. Remember those days? Crazy. This is extreme weather temperatures. Most people's furnaces can break. If your furnace breaks, give me a call. It's common. It's normal. It's going to happen. It has nothing to do with global warming or anything. It's just these are extreme temperatures. If we can't repair it the same day or it doesn't make sense, I'll give you a really good price on a furnace that gives you heat without the ball-face lies that you're going to get more heat and it's going to save you money. So if you want common sense, call me, Bart Inman, 314-293-2600 or bartinman.com, and that is Bart with a B, Inman with an I.com.
Oh, I thought. Thank you, Bart. I thought the show was over, ladies and gentlemen. We have a breaking story, and it's pretty serious. I don't know much about it. We're going to go to Fox coverage right now. A plane crash has occurred in Philadelphia. An aircraft has struck a mall. Now, I don't know if this is a passenger jet, Sue, or if it's a smaller aircraft, but it is a terrible scene right now. There are houses nearby even on fire. Here's what Fox is talking about right now on their coverage.
The doorbell video from about a half a mile away, I'm assuming.
All right, Jason.
Yes,
Jason,
go ahead.
So, to give you an idea, you're with Wendy's, is this? Which store is this? This is what? The cafe right here. All right. So, I'm with a worker right across from where the house is on fire. What did you see in here while you were working?
Man, I was just working. I was making a drink, and then I just see a big old explosion of light just out of nowhere. I felt the vibration. It was crazy, man.
And did you have any idea what it was?
Man, I don't know. At first, I thought it was like a gas leak or a gas truck, you know what I'm saying, collided with a car. But then I hear it's a plane, and I'm like, what? What do you mean a plane?
And then you looked out the back door here. You're fairly close. You see a house on fire here? What, do you know what street that is right there? But the side street.
Oh, the side? I'm not really.
Yeah, but
side street?
But you saw all the fires here.
I saw all the fires, yeah. It was crazy, man.
And what was the reaction of everybody in the cafe and all around here?
Oh, man, everybody ran, bro. Everybody ran. They left.
And
you wouldn't leave.
How did you finally hear about it being an airplane?
Oh, it was crazy, man.
Did you see all the parts in the parking lot next to the cafe here?
Yeah, not the parts per se, but I just see fire, man.
Yeah.
Smoke, everything.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Glad you're safe. So there you go, Jason. This worker is about a football field's length from where the house is on fire. So we're behind, and if you're pulling up a map and you're wondering where I'm talking to you from, I'm right behind the Cane's Chicken Store, which is fronts right on Cotman. And the front
This is actually a feed from a Philadelphia television station, WTXF, currently, that Fox is airing.
Flames on the house, but I see flames initially on the street that have been right in the driveway of the Roosevelt Mall, right next to the store that lists the sign that lists all the stores here. Those flames are now kicking up, and I have no idea what's burning. It must be some kind of fuel, and I don't know if that's the gas line, because now I see a team of Philadelphia Gas Works workers, and they look like they're getting...
Okay, this is live in Philadelphia. This is our Fox affiliate, Fox 29. It appears it is a plane crash, but we haven't confirmed that yet. You're hearing the reporter Steve Keeley on the ground with Fox 29. We're going to stay with these pictures and this breaking news out of Northeast Philadelphia, very close to the Northeast Philadelphia airport. You can see all of the fire trucks and the authorities on the ground. We're going to stay with this and figure out what's happening in Philadelphia. See you Monday for a special report.
That's Brett Baer kind of signing